Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, June 14th, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1042.
This is No Agenda.
Compiling communiques and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, precluding Northern Korea, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Guys aren't even close to Northern Korea.
I know.
Not yet, at least. Wait until it becomes our 51st state.
Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah. I kind of expected Trump to take Kim Jong-un and said, dude, I'll drop you off. Here, hop in the Air Force One. I'll take you out.
Actually,
that would have been fun.
He should have done that.
Yeah. He showed him the beast. I saw that. There was a little photo op when he said, hey, come take a look at my car. He was looking inside the car.
The beast.
Yeah. Rather strange. But boy, that was something. I couldn't actually turn it off. I had to watch. I had to stay glued to see what was going to happen. It was quite the event.
I watched it. I got the two discrepant. I got a lot of clips, and some of them I guess we don't need to play. But I got in fact, let me do a quick summary clip because it was very interesting to listen to the difference between the CBS reports and NBC. NBC trashed it.
Yes.
And CBS, which even had Mike Morell on the overnight show, didn't really they were still like, apparently, I guess the memo hasn't come out yet on how to deal with this. So he was actually pretty nice about it. But yeah, I got the NOCO Redux ISO.
Oh.
This is Hallie Jackson from NBC summarizing the situation in North Korea.
Extermination, murder, enslavement, torture, imprisonment, rape, crimes against humanity.
Just before you get into your, because I see what you have clip-wise, and for those of you who are new to the program, we have no idea what we're bringing to the table. I can just see some titles here. Let me just play Shep Smith, because it relates to that. Shep Smith on Fox News. There was the actual proof that Democrats run Fox News, and I guess it must be hard to be Shep Smith.
And by the way, it looks as though now Comcast is going to outbid Disney because of this stupid court case with this idiot judge, which I have to look into.
Well, let's get into that in a minute, because
I'm just going to say it's just more proof that
who's running the show? Yeah, well, we'll get into that with net neutrality. But poor Shep, man, it must be hard being a good gay in today's America if you work for Fox News. So I give the guy some grace on what he says.
This Tuesday afternoon, the talk happened, hands shaken, photos taken, and during a private meeting, promises were apparently made. But who wanted what? Well, America demanded complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization.
Hold on a second. Did America demand that? Was that the demands of the administration, or was that demands of the media? And I couldn't find the genesis of that.
I don't know anybody who demanded it.
Well, everyone was talking about CVID. We need CVID, and everybody on the cable news networks, at least. So anyway, that was what America demanded, maybe in the heartland.
CVID, complete, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization. There is no guarantee of that, not even words to that effect. And we may not know for years whether we're actually now on that road or left in the potholes of paths past.
Nice.
But Kim Jong-un, he wanted the photos, the seat at the table. He wanted the legitimacy that came with the event, the handshake with America's president. And he wanted those military exercises with the Americans and the South Koreans that happen every year to stop. Kim Jong-un got it all for actually doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he got a promise, lacking specifics, granted, of security for the North Korean regime. A regime that has an estimated 120,000 political prisoners across the nation.
Now, so this number, this 120,000, everyone has it. It's actually between 80 and 120,000. And I was like, we've heard this, and we've heard about him killing his brother and killing his uncle and feeding him to the dogs. And most of this has been debunked. And, he didn't kill his brother. His brother apparently was poisoned at an airport on his way to China. His estranged brother going back to Macau. And 2 women came up and rubbed some poison on his face, and he died minutes later. But, of course, that's what Kim did. But I really wanted to understand these, the political prisoners, the gulags, and I did a lot of research, and it's all in the show notes. And there is nothing other than what comes out of the United Nations. And, of course, Human Rights Watch, Human Rights Now, a lot of the USAID related organizations. I'm not saying that it's not true, but I'd like a little more proof. All we see is the constant satellite photos. Here it is. This is the prison camp. Dude, you can see my house from Google Maps. Yet we can't see one person working in the field, getting beaten up or anything. It reeks a little bit of other stuff we've seen come out of the United Nations research into human rights violations. Not saying it hasn't happened, not saying it's not happening. I just like a little more proof and a little more.
Yeah, the proof is very scant, and you're right. Today's satellite images you can see people in the street, you can follow people. And we get none of that.
I mean, you're telling me that
we don't see anybody there. It looks like abandoned areas.
You tell me the Google Maps car is not there in North Korea. That thing's everywhere. So that should be on the streets. But it's they always say 120, and this number has been this way since 2014 when the last report came out. So there's been no change in 4 years apparently. It's 120,000. It's political prisoners. There's torture, and there's a couple of rape. And rape, yeah. There's a couple of really good debunkings of all the people that Kim Jong-un apparently has killed. Like even the shot his uncle with a 50 cal machine gun, fed him to the dogs. Turns out it was a blogger in China who was just making some joke. Yeah, but that, of course, got taken as fact. So I just like a little more, and not from the typical sources that are just, at this point, untrustworthy.
A regime that tortures and murders its own citizens, imprisons children for the actions of parents and grandparents, and a leader who has committed crimes against humanity. President Trump called the North Korean dictator very talented and praised him. The United Nations has called him one of the most brutal and repressive regimes in modern history.
So I'm completely open to believing that this guy has continued this complete, horrific, oppressive regime. I'm open to it. I just like a little more than the same talking points on it. All right.
He's a madman. And by the way, besides NBC going negative and CBS going kind of neutral, Colbert, I watched the show looking for clips, and it was just, anti-Trump stuff. And then he somehow segued to the raccoon going up the side of a building.
that kept everyone's attention for a minute.
Well, that's going to be a frightening thing to see.
This is a funny one. This is Fox and Friends. As the president is arriving in Singapore. See if you can catch the gaffe.
There is the president of the United States, Donald Trump, about to walk down those stairs, stepping foot in Singapore as we await this historic summit with the North Korean dictator, Kim Jong-un. Anthony, talk to us about this moment. I mean, this is history. We are living, regardless of what happens in that meeting between the two dictators, what we are seeing right now, this is history.
Did you catch the gaffe?
No.
I'll play the relevant bit once again. Hold on.
Regardless of what happens in that meeting between the two dictators, what we are seeing right now.
I love that. Two dictators.
That's the best one. That's clip of the day already. I'm giving it to you. I'm very generous.
Clip of the day.
Isn't that great? What a bunch of morons. Two dictators. Yeah. It's historic, these dictators from Fox. Good work. More proof the Democrats are in.
No, the media is pretty neutral on this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the only gaffe I can find is Nora from the morning show. She see if you can hear what I maybe I'm wrong. But she uses the thing that broadcasters are never supposed to say, nuclear.
Nuclear?
So listen to Nora D. Nuke. I've got two of them.
Oh.
I'm trying to think, which is the short one? The short one. Well, no, did you just play the long one, then the short one?
President Trump and North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un finished an unprecedented meeting in Singapore with a deal to start denuclearizing the Korean peninsula.
Denuclearizing.
Denuclear.
Let me hear.
Denuclearizing.
Denuclearizing. Well.
Denuclearizing.
I think she did okay.
Denuclearizing.
Should be
Denuclearizing.
Denuclearizing. Nuclearizing.
Yeah, not nuclearizing.
Denuclearizing.
Nah, it's not.
Denuclearizing.
Well, how about this gaffe from Stephanopoulos on ABC?
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
And another handshake there for President Trump and Kim Jong-un.
Wow. We're on a roll today.
President Chump. Chump. President Chump.
Chump? Was it Chump?
No, he said Chump.
Chump?
President Chump, a Trump.
Chump. God.
Yeah, this is fabulous. Very good. All right, you got. I got. That's my gaffes. I only have deconstruction from this point on.
I don't have any more gaffes either. Well, if you want to start straight, we can do the CBS stuff that was done. And CBS has this. I think this is the show to watch. Jeff Glor's on it too. I don't know why, but this is the CBS Overnight, which is the network news, only it's longer. It's over an hour.
I've seen this. It's actually quite good. They kind of get into topics a little longer. They talk
stuff testing for their main broadcast. You can tell.
Yeah.
It hasn't been fully edited, and it's just better. Than
and they have people actually walking on and standing, I believe. At least they walk onto the set and they stand and then they do their little ditty. I like it. I've seen it. I think it's enjoyable.
It's on at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's the unenjoyable part about it.
Yeah, that's the problem. But let's start with we'll do the wrap, get it going. These are all short clips. I have a lot of clips, but they're pretty all in 1 minute. Let's start with NOCO CBS Wrap 1.
Get to work and get it completed, because otherwise we've done a good job. But if you don't get the ball over the goal line, it doesn't mean enough, okay?
Mr. Trump also announced an end to joint U.S.-South Korea military exercises, a goal long sought by North Korea. The move surprised many at the Pentagon and in Seoul.
We'll be saving a tremendous amount of money. Plus, I think it's very provocative.
The summit was a spectacle, with Kim even comparing it to a science fiction movie.
By the way, did you see the defense stocks after he said that? He said, now we got to stop these war games. Costs a lot of money. Is bull crap, really. Boom.
He says it's provocative, which it was. They took that part, by the way, that part of the clip.
Yes.
It's provocative. It was taken out of the network news. It was taken out of everything.
Oh, really? Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, they left that out. And so the theme was, and it was also in this report a little bit, and we talked about this on the show about them doing this. So I don't believe it was a surprise to anybody. I think this is false reporting. Was it a surprise to you that he stopped? Because it was one of the main cornerstones of the whole.
It was a surprise to the military-industrial complex, at least the investors. Everyone, I saw these stocks go down.
I'm going to ask you, was it a surprise to you?
No. Absolutely not.
Was it a surprise to me? No. And then then Colbert and everybody else goes off about, he just did this on the spur of the moment. He didn't tell anybody. And the Pentagon they're going nuts because they weren't told. And I'm immediately reminded of him. I unfortunately didn't have time to go find it. And we don't need to find it, but I can remind people because they should remember it. We had McMaster give a long lecture. It was on public or on C-SPAN. And during the lecture, somebody asked him about when does he find out about stuff? Trump will say something, and he's always shocked that Trump wants to do something. He says, no, he's never shocked because that stream of command from him down and the president up is different. He says, we always find out very late in the game. We don't find out. They don't call us and ask us for permission to do something like that. They just, make a decision to do it, and then it gets worked out.
Right.
And it's not a big deal. But all the news guys are thinking it's a huge deal. In fact, the NBC went nuts about it. So, okay, well, so just reminding people that these reports are pretty poor.
Yes.
And And Mr. Trump showed Kim this video showcasing a glowing new North Korean economic future. The president said North Korea had beautiful beaches ready for condominium development.
Think of it from a real estate perspective. You have South Korea.
And I love this because I'm just thinking it's exactly what John said years ago. Perfect for tourism. Trump will come in with his real estate pitch, which I think he did very well.
China, and they own the land in the middle. How bad is that, right?
Last year, the president called North Korea, with its abysmal human rights record, wicked and depraved. Today, he said he trusts the dynastic young dictator after just one face-to-face meeting.
Well, he's smart, loves his people. He loves his country. He wants a lot of good things, and that's why he's doing this.
Major, this joint statement also addressed the remains of Americans missing in action or held as prisoners of war during the Korean War. This was so important to so many families. What did it say?
Yeah, the president said he heard a lot about it during the campaign trail, and what the two countries have committed to is recovering and repatriating those remains. Jeff, about 5,300 Americans estimated to still be in North Korea after the Korean War, some 65 years later, many in mass graves. This had been worked on before, but was stalled when North Korea did not live up to its pledges on denuclearization. So you can assume that those two issues, repatriation and denuclearization, will be merged yet again.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
Yeah, and that was dropped from the reporting later as an item. It was a nice touch, and it did, it might result in. I mean, Kim's done this. We got nothing. He already released 3 prisoners. He stopped all his testing. He hasn't launched a missile.
What I didn't hear really from anybody was any analysis of the communiqué, which is my favorite word now. After we've had a communiqué from the G7.
Well, I think that's what most of the analysis was, but it didn't say anything. The communiqué didn't happen.
Well, the communiqué did say something.
What was it?
Point 3, reaffirming the April 27, 2018 Panmunjom Declaration, the DPRK commits to work toward complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And so you need to go to the Panmunjom Declaration, which was the agreement, I believe, crafted by us between North and South Korea. And there's a lot in there about what they're going to do.
Good.
So, let me see. Disarmament in a phased manner, military tension is alleviated, substantial progress is made in military confidence building. South and North Korea confirmed the common goal. Now, it's fuzzy, but at least there's more to it than I heard on the news.
The news was not getting right. They were not getting close to it. This is true. Now,
well, let me just read the one paragraph. South and North Korea confirmed the common goal of realizing through complete denuclearization a nuclear-free Korean peninsula. South and North Korea shared the view that the measures being initiated by North Korea are very meaningful and crucial for the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, and agreed to carry out their respective roles and responsibilities in this regard. South and North Korea agreed to actively seek the support and cooperation of the international community for the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. This was not even read to us when it took place.
No.
Which is why I went to find it when I saw, oh, wait a minute, this document refers to that document. It's how this stuff is always done.
What good is that going to do to talk about this? That's not anti-Trump enough.
I'm sorry. My mistake. I'll never make it.
And then the thing that goes further was that this is the third clip here over on the overnight show. This is where they brought Morell in, and it was, again, this is a show that goes on at 3 a.m. I don't know what time they tape it, but I'm sure Morell went to bed. But he didn't get his paperwork from the agency.
He didn't
telling him what to say.
Oh, no.
We're going to move now to Margaret Brennan, our senior foreign affairs correspondent and moderator of Face the Nation. Also, Michael Morell, former deputy CIA director, and now our CBS News senior security contributor. Margaret, what happens now?
Well, the president gave himself a lot of wiggle room today. He said, I may stand up here in 6 months and say, hey, I was wrong. So he's given himself some room there. He also gave the North Koreans room to maneuver as well. Next up, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has to become a salesman. He's going to South Korea to try to explain what was agreed upon in the room that wasn't on that written statement that was released to all of us. Then he goes to China, and of course, they have the most leverage over North Korea, and he'll speak speak to their leadership about making North Korea follow through on what they at least say are said to have agreed upon in the room. But diplomats say there is still a lot of detail yet to be determined. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and National Security Advisor John Bolton will meet again with the North Koreans next week to hammer out those details.
Michael, in your estimation, what did the president achieve at this summit?
Jeff, this was a diplomatic win for the United States, but we are far from a strategic win. It was a diplomatic win because it was the best possible outcome of the summit. Shared objectives to denuclearize and an agreement to continue the negotiations. We're far from a strategic win because there are immense details to work through.
Okay, some great analysis tonight with Margaret Brennan and Michael Morell. Thanks to both of them.
Some great analysis. Really, that was not great analysis.
No,
that was just blathering.
Pretty pathetic. I want to play this clip out of order, which is NOCO Newspapers and Media Analysis.
North Korean videos demonize the U.S. as an existential threat and suggest North Korea has to prepare to target the White House or destroy the Capitol. But today's state newspaper seems to mark the Singapore summit as a shift. Newspaper photos feature Kim and Trump smiling and leaning into each other.
As jarring as it is for an American audience to see an American president smiling broadly and shaking the hands with a North Korean dictator, it's orders of magnitude more disturbing or more jarring for the North Korean population to see their leader doing the same with President Trump. I think this is really quite significant, and I think it shows to the North Korean people and government officials in particular that Kim Jong-un is very firmly behind this diplomatic process and its success.
But interpreting North Korea is no science, and optimism could easily be replaced with venom, argues Sue Kim.
North Korea has a history of using its state media. It's a propaganda tool. So coming after Kim's return trip from Singapore, where he obviously got the propaganda boost, he was able to shut off his public image as this ruthless dictator.
And the North Korean or DPRK statement about the summit has some analysts worried that Kim won't shed his violent past. The statement reads, if the U.S. side takes genuine measures for building trust, the DPRK too can continue to take additional goodwill measures. And it is important to abide by the principle of step-by-step and simultaneous action, suggesting North Korea is buying time rather than being serious about denuclearization.
There you go. There's some propaganda for it.
Buying time for what?
What are
they buying time for?
To blow us up. To double-cross us.
They're going broke, these guys. They're buying time for what? What are they buying time for?
I agree. The analysis was so poor. Everything I saw was, right down, not even reading the damn documents.
That was PBS, by the way.
Figures.
So they're not telling us anything. They're just befuddled by this whole. It's like some crazy thing that went on. And then they talk about, well, they will give Trump credit for kind of meeting him, but when you go to NBC and listen to their thesis, it's all, hey, they've given this maniac, this violent maniac, which, violent maniac. Now he's been given legitimacy. That's all Trump accomplished, was giving this horrible person legitimacy.
Right.
And it's like, holy mackerel. We can't, I don't get it personally why we have to be that way.
It
just doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not that way.
It's healthy.
I'm not that way. It's not healthy. That's for sure.
No. Well, let's go to NBC and listen. This is NBC sees it differently. And I have 4 short clips. And everyone has a punchline that's why I broke it up into that. But let's start with one.
How can the U.S. be sure? A key missing ingredient, no requirement that Kim Jong-un disclose how many weapons he has or where they are hidden.
There's always a possibility that North Korea can hide things in thousands of miles of underground tunnels, which you cannot verify. You can only verify what they declare, and that's why the declaration is so important.
What else is missing from the summit document? No definition of denuclearization, no details on verification. Tonight, lawmakers, even some Republicans, say it's too vague.
This is an agreement in principle. It's not an agreement that can be enforced. It's an idea. I don't know that there's anything to that of concrete nature yet to trust, if you know what I'm saying.
Still, the president says this is just a beginning, that he has accomplished something no other president could, a meeting with a North Korean leader. But did he get enough in return?
Now the task is to really put meat on the bones. Secretary Pompeo will have to start negotiations right away to see if there can be any concrete steps that are taken towards denuclearization.
And Secretary of State Pompeo leaves for Seoul and Beijing tomorrow to try to turn the summit promises into reality. Lester.
All right, Andrea Mitchell, thank you. As the events unfolded here in Singapore, South Korea was looking on with high stakes in the outcome. And when President Trump announced he's halting military exercises with them, it seems he not only surprised the South Koreans, but U.S. forces in the region, too. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel is in Seoul and has reaction for us tonight.
I will say that I found the entire event, the press parts of the event, to be well produced. I saw drone shots setting up the venue. You know, they had cranes. I mean, it was well done.
The first jib.
They had a jib.
North Korea.
Holy
mackerel.
No, in Singapore. I'm sure it wasn't the first jib in Singapore.
Oh, it's in Singapore.
But I saw drone shots in the beginning too, and just the timing of it all. It was nicely done. It was nicely done. I thought it was a good television event.
The Singaporeans, they're thinking. They're putting all their effort behind it.
The Singaporeans, everybody.
Talk about a dictatorship. There you go. But nobody wants to mention that, do they?
No.
But Singapore probably went all in because they said, "Hey, we can have these international meetings. This brings in a lot of cash.
Yep.
Let's show them a good time." And I'm sure the food was fantastic. They don't talk about that much.
Oh, did you see the menu?
Which one?
Oh, shoot! There was a menu for their lunch.
What was that menu from?
Menu Kim Trump lunch. Hold on, let me find it for you. It was really good. Let's see the lunch.
Well,
menu.
The rest of the people are starving.
Let me see. Here it is. On the menu, they had, for starters, traditional prawn cocktail with avocado salad, green mango caribou with honey lime dressing and fresh octopus, Korean stuffed cucumber, then short rib confit served with potato dauphinoise and steamed broccoli, red wine sauce, combination of sweet and sour crispy pork and Yangzhou fried rice with homemade zhu chili, Daegu jorim, soy braised codfish with radish and Asian vegetables, and then for dessert, which I'm sure the media obsessed over, in fact I heard them, dark chocolate tartlet ganache and Häagen-Dazs vanilla ice cream with cherry coulis and tropezien. I don't know half of what that stuff is.
I know what most of it is, but I can't figure out how did Häagen-Dazs get into the act?
They did. Someone got a promotion.
Somebody got, yes.
That's a good one. Good point.
But yeah, it sounds delicious. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it was tasty.
Yes. So they had a good time at lunch.
Anyway, so Richard, they do the same thing on NBC. Oh, everyone's stunned that they're going to stop these exercises.
Now, the main problem was
I've always thought they should have. I always thought those exercises were provocative, and the Chinese are part of the reason that they were irked about them.
But it was South Korea who sent out a communique saying, we're not quite sure what he means by that, and that's what sparked it all off. So there was some miscommunication amongst the parties.
I think that was exaggerated. I don't think for a minute that they were that stunned.
Damn it, I didn't even think to look into it. You're right.
Yeah, these guys aren't, and especially since South Korea is initiating a lot of this.
Yeah.
They obviously know the ropes. They know that it's annoying to do these exercises that look like they're just going to attack any minute.
Yeah.
So why would they all of a sudden be so stunned? It doesn't make any sense.
So I'm looking at ABC. As reports emerged, that the South Korean government was surprised by the announcement to suspend exercises. Questions were raised if U.S. policymakers were also caught off guard. So the questions were raised. This might have been just from sources. You're absolutely right. That may have been exaggerated. Good point. Damn it.
They're just doing everything they can to. I mean, the people that are doing this are just anti-American, it seems to me. But let's go to the part two. Now we have Richard Engel, who's brought out of the Middle East, where he's a native Arabic speaker, and let's put him in, and he's the big negative Nelly. He's the CIA plant that we kind of figured. He's the guy who voted against the idea or suggested that Feinstein should not release that CIA report about torture, heaven forbid, which gave him away as far as I'm concerned. And he's the guy who did that phony report where he was supposedly captured, and the guy's just not.
He was also the guy who had look, Russian hackers, but he was in Moscow on a hotel Wi-Fi or some shit like that.
Yeah, I believe that was him too. Okay, so let's listen to him.
Across South Korea today, hope this historic handshake means peace is finally in the air. President Moon Jae-in, who met Kim Jong-un to help organize this summit, said he was so excited he couldn't sleep last night. But now, focus here is turning to that curveball. President Trump saying while U.S. troops would remain in South Korea, no more war games.
We will be stopping the war games, which will save us a tremendous amount of money, unless and until we see that the future negotiation is not going along like it should.
But twice-annual war games and joint exercises are the cornerstone of the military alliance between the U.S. and South Korea. We visited them extensively in F-16s, on firing ranges, on patrol, always told by commanders they're essential for the safety of South Korea and American troops and their families based here. But apparently, no one told the South Koreans President Trump promised Chairman Kim he'd scrap them.
Now, I have some quotes here. Interestingly, from HuffPo. Headline, South Korea blindsided by Trump war games agreement. And here's what they have quote-wise. Trump made the remarks at a news conference after a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Singapore, calling war games expensive and, quote, provocative. South Korea's presidential Blue House said it needed to, quote, to find out the precise meaning of intentions of Trump's statement, while adding that it was willing to, quote, explore various measures to help the talks move forward more smoothly. So you're right. It was an exaggeration if that's all there was to it. They're saying, I'm not quite sure what he means by that. We'll find out.
Yeah.
And then
which brings me back to the McMaster's quote. He says, we don't know, the guy, the president of the United States will say something and it gets down to us. It's not that he's talking to us.
Yeah, and this is very interesting. I should have looked for these quotes earlier. USFK, which is the U.S. United States Forces Korea, I think, has received no updated guidance on execution or cessation of training exercises to include this fall schedule. Include this fall schedule. Old Chief Freedom Guardian, U.S. Forces in Korea spokeswoman Lieutenant Colonel Jennifer Lovett said in a statement, quote, in coordination with our South Korean partners, we will continue our current military posture until we receive updated guidance from the Department of Defense and/or Indo-Pacific Command. So it wasn't quite the outrage and wow, blindsided and what, at least not from the quotes. And this is HuffPo, so I figure if they had worse quotes, they put that in. But then they just grab one South Korean official said he initially thought Trump had misspoke. I was shocked when he called the exercises provocative, a very unlikely word to be used by a U.S. president, the official said, speaking on condition of anonymity because it was a politically sensitive issue. So the official statements are very different than this unofficial stuff that is, again, anonymous sources. Nice. Okay. Good. Figured it out.
Yeah, once again, these guys are full of shit.
Kinda.
So let's go to part 3. We got Engel out of the way.
Kim, he'd scrap them.
Nope, we didn't.
What?
I said, no, we didn't. He's still there.
He's still here.
Kim, he'd scrap them. A South Korean military official told NBC News, "We need to find out the exact meaning or intention behind his comments." American forces in South Korea said they too received no updated guidance on execution or cessation of training exercises. Canceling these war games is seen here as a major concession to North Korea. And this morning, North Korean media is reporting that Kim Jong-un demanded it and President Trump complied. Lester?
Yeah, of course. English, yeah, probably. That's probably exactly what it said.
Now, the last clip of this group, that's probably what they said. The last clip of this group has got I put Yao here because there's a real funny bit in here.
All right, Richard Engel in Seoul for us tonight. Thank you. One issue that did not receive much discussion during this summit was the brutal reality of life in North Korea. Kim Jong-un's regime has been accused of appalling human rights violations against his own people, as well as the mistreatment of American prisoners. NBC's Hallie Jackson has more on what wasn't said at this historic face-to-face.
Before we get into that, I was just thinking 80 to 120,000 political prisoners is what they say.
Yeah.
We have 2.5 million prisoners in America.
Yeah.
2.5 million. And I'm sure
political prisoners.
I'm sure they're all treated just fine.
In Singapore, smiles and a stroll from Kim Jong-un. But back home, a UN report paints a much more grim picture, one of extermination, murder.
Last report the UN released was 2014. So I'm just saying this is old news. I'd love to get an updated report.
Enslavement, torture, imprisonment.
Back it up.
Yeah, a little bit, because her little laundry list of horrors is just
face to face.
In Singapore, smiles and a stroll from Kim Jong-un. But back home, a UN report paints a much more grim picture, one of extermination, murder, enslavement, torture, imprisonment, rape, crimes against humanity.
Enough about Austin.
His country does love him. His people, you see the fervor. They have a great fervor.
But what he calls fervor, the UN calls indoctrination, another in the long and disturbing list of human rights abuses Kim's accused of.
It was discussed. It was discussed relatively briefly compared to denuclearization. Well, obviously, that's where we started and where we ended.
President Trump didn't dwell on the negative, instead repeatedly pointing to the positive.
He's a very talented man.
Kim Jong-un, as you know, has killed family members, has starved his own people, is responsible for the death of Otto Warmbier. Why are you so comfortable calling him very talented?
Well, he is very talented. Anybody that takes over a situation like he did at 26 years of age and is able to run it and run it tough. I don't say he was nice. I think without Otto, this would not have happened.
It was a year ago today that Warmbier was returned to the U.S. in a coma. He died within a week of coming home.
Yeah, that's an irritating fact.
Yeah, well, we don't know the story because we don't have anybody.
But I always enjoy being told by the mainstream media, as you know, he's killed family members. He fed them to the dogs. And so we really don't have. I'm totally open to believing it. But there's just so, I was reading this book. One of Tina's daughters gave it to me to read. Actually, you don't really read it because she said it's a graphic novel. We're like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what graphic novel means. It turns out it's pictures.
You didn't know?
No, I didn't know.
That's funny.
This guy is an animator, and he wrote about his time in North Korea working with a North Korean animation company. And yeah, it's weird, and there's a lot wrong. And there's no people in the in the big hotels, but it didn't seem quite as bad from a gulag perspective. I mean, the fact that there's people from other countries in there working, and there's lots of them. There's NGOs. They have parties on the Friday night in one of the hotels.
That one reporter that was on the CBS overnight is the guy. We've seen him before. He's always over there. He's kind of a neutral reporter because it's like he's he's the guest of the government or something. I'm not sure how you play that game to do that kind of work. But I'm sure one of these days we'll have a nice little book to
yeah, I'm sure he will. Yeah, I'm sure he will. I've got some responses here from my new favorite. I'm kind of moving away from Stephanie Ruhle. Then I'm moving on to Nicole Wallace. Now she's the midday segment.
She's an old hack. She's been there forever.
She is hateful, and it's not.
She's horrible.
Yeah, but I think there's some good clips to be had because she's.
Well, before you go there, I just want to wrap up my clips.
Sorry. Okay.
With my 11-second PBS summary.
Okay.
The president today dismissed doubters and proclaimed the North Korean nuclear menace is over. Instead, he insisted, quote, our country's biggest enemy is the fake news.
Now, I'm glad you played that because that is indeed what he said. Let me replay this. How come that doesn't work? I think I have to go back.
The president today dismissed doubters and proclaimed the North Korean nuclear menace is over. Instead, he insisted, quote, our country's biggest enemy is the fake news.
Okay, so he said our country's biggest enemy is the fake news. Here's CNN's discussion with Brolf and the Chip Todd. What's that guy? One of these guys. One of these guys discussing. Now, remember, the tweet was, "This country's enemy is the fake news."
And he would rather just attack the media for daring to do our jobs, which is to kind of evaluate what he's doing.
But it's so unoriginal, too. I mean, there's no president or political figure who likes the media. And so he's trying to outdo Nixon.
It's one thing not to like the media. We've all worked in this news business for a long time. Everybody's always criticizing us and not happy with our coverage, whether it was President Clinton or President Bush or they're all criticized. But it's another thing to say that, it's not North Korea, it's not Iran, it's not Russia, it's not China. It's journalists like us who are the enemy of the American people.
One of the things that bothers me most about the president is I don't even take what he's saying seriously. It's that he's so casual about throwing out language, and that you really undermine the presidency when you do that, because there will be a time after Donald Trump, believe it or not, and he is doing damage to this notion of do we believe what the president says. But we live in an environment where social media principally allows so much hyperbole that now the president engages in it, and it becomes kind of the bloodstream of our public discourse, where you could say something that over the top, and that it would be the president of the United States who says it, and I don't take it seriously, which is a problem too, because he's not really being serious when he says it. It's a shame.
But a lot of people do take it seriously,
That's
and
the problem.
It's having an impact.
A lot of his supporters believe that we are the enemy of the American people, and that is really, really an awful situation. We are not the enemy of the American people. We love the American people.
So there's a lot to unpack there.
We
really love you.
Do.
We love you, please. So they took fake, this is a case of he who fits the shoe puts it on. He said fake news. He didn't say journalists. He didn't say the media. He said fake news.
And many a time he said, in fact, one of his recent press conferences, he went off on fake, the one that we had some clips from. He went off on the CNN guy's fake news, and he talked to other people. He says there's a lot of good journalists, and he was very friendly with a number of them that were at that press conference. But he just pointed out CNN.
Yeah,
and he says Trump himself says there's lots of good journalists out there.
Yeah, but these guys took it immediately to Trump says journalists and journalism. I think even I heard there, and the media is the actual end. Now, I agree with that actual statement, but that's not what he said. I mean, I think you and I both agree the M5M is dangerous to people's health.
Yes.
It's like opioids. So anyway, here's Nicole Wallace, and with her, just to give you an idea of how they think, is editorial board member from the New York Times. And what is her name? Mara Gay. And here's their take on it.
But this is not just a meeting about foreign policy. This is about Donald Trump's political survival. He has said to friends that he plans on taking a win in North Korea to the voters. That's their midterm message. That's all they've got.
That's right. I mean, that's what's actually so terrifying in part, because I think we're going into this, and if we're thinking about this realistically, we know enough about President Trump to know that he's not going to come home and say that he failed. He's going to call this a win, no matter what.
He might send Rick Perry over there to help them build more nukes and say, we won, we're in charge of them now.
And the North Koreans know that. Yeah.
That's right. So we're already at such a disadvantage, I think, going into this. And so then the question becomes, well, if he's going to frame this as a win, what's that going to look like? What does that look like in terms of sanctions, in terms of giving him, international legitimacy that he didn't otherwise have? And quite frankly, I mean, you look at the polls, it's really interesting because the more we're talking about North Korea, the less we're talking about Russia, right? The less we're talking about issues at home. And I think you see, that's true for Kim, I'm sure, as well.
Why is the New York Times editorial board so worried that they're not talking enough about Russia? Is that journalism?
No, I don't know what's going on. I mean, that was a very, very bizarre clip. Nobody listens to these guys except you, by the way. But
I know. I'm sorry.
That is a very, very bizarre clip. Mm-hmm. Very strange.
Well, especially from the New York Times editorial board member. I thought that was...
Yeah. Why are they concerned about... They're like trying to guide the news cycle.
Yeah, that would be
instead of reporting.
Yeah, that would be my accusation.
That's what it said. That's what they said.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
why do they care? Why don't they just do their jobs?
Wait a minute. What didn't Mika Brzezinski famously say that? Did she say we report, we tell you what to believe?
Yeah, something like that. I wish we had that clip.
I might have that. Let me see. Believe. Let me see. Maybe. Nah. No, I can't find it. But anyway,
it's hard to label a clip like that, so it'll get lost.
One more try.
The challenge is on. Yeah. Really? I think I can find it. You think
I know I can find it. It's in here somewhere. Nah, I can't find it. Sorry. What I do have, unless you have another clip, I have kind of a wrap-up that I thought was interesting. It's a little longer clip, but it really puts a lot of this into perspective from a very, very different viewpoint. Do you have anything else you want to?
I'm good to go, yeah.
Okay. Because I'm kind of looking for, what is the deconstruction? What is really going on? What is really happening here? Because we know nothing. The only thing I know is I talked to the fish guy at the supermarket, and he's South Korean. He was born there.
Source.
I have a source. Yeah. I said, so what do you think? He says, well, selfishly, I really hope it doesn't happen. This is great that we don't have any war and all that. It'd be great, if people can visit their family. But selfishly, he said, everybody in my hood, they see this as, well, this is like East and West Germany, and it's going to cost us a lot of money. And he was quite clear. He's like, just when we're kicking ass with LG, we own the entire pop music market. K-pop, of course, is gangbusters. What are the Samsung? I mean, he says we're really kicking ass, and we don't want to have to suffer with those damn North Koreans. And to which I said, well, maybe there's a match made in heaven if you take, because apparently North Korea has a lot of resources, like cell phone stuff type resources.
Oh, you mean rare earth elements,
minerals and elements and all that. Yeah. And so, make them mine, put the factories up there, put all the smoke up in North Korea, if you want to look at it from a South Korean perspective, and you could be a real powerhouse. I'm thinking.
Well, he's probably right on the surface, but if you look at it in hindsight, yes, it was damaging for a short period, but now the German Republic is stronger than ever.
Now they rule all of Europe.
Not than ever.
Not ever. No, they've had some winning moments.
They're strong.
So, Steve Pieczenik did one of his YouTube videos, and he did this on the 5th of June, so a week before the actual summit. And he talks of a trifecta taking place, and he lauds the president, say this is all the president's doing. He's super smart, and I think it's worth listening to because there's stuff in here that I had not considered and stuff we can look out for, and maybe we'll learn more about Pieczenik at the same time.
Whatever you hear or see on the surface has a completely opposite meaning in the covert world or in the world of the CIA. Let me explain. Number one, North Korea, South Korea will get together in Singapore, and Trump will create a process where there will be peace between North and South Korea. That was kind of dicey, but in fact, Trump used everything he needed: denial, distortion, and deception. The most interesting part, which is part 2 of this deal, is the fact that Dr. Bashar Assad, the president of Syria, is also interested in meeting with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Now, why is that relevant to what is happening now in Singapore? The reason it is relevant is that Dr. Bashar Assad, whom I've known indirectly, and I knew his father, and I've been interrogated by his people 10 years ago, is a very smart man. He knows that he can no longer rule over a country that's divided and in turmoil. So he wants security, he wants to make sure that there's peace, and he wants to work with Trump and North Korea. Now, why would he work with North Korea? Because the Syrians and North Koreans have been together attacking Israel many decades ago. But in fact, Israel has worked with North Korea indirectly, buying its phosphate and coal. North Korea, despite all the sanction, has been exporting coal through Japan and Russia. So who is involved in this meeting besides North Korea, South Korea, and Japan? It will be Russia, and it will be other countries in the Middle East who want peace. So we have a double header here. While Trump is being attacked, he's also initiating a peace treaty between Bashar Assad, Israel, and Iran. Iran also works closely with North Korea, and Iran also works closely with Israel, because in 2006, Israeli soldiers had Passover in Iran. In 2016, the Israelis were shipping oil and infrastructure. So much of what you hear on the surface is the complete opposite. Now for the trifecta. The third person that's involved in all of this is John Brennan. I have criticized John Brennan, but I also understand how important he is to this process. Why? John Brennan has increased the amount of criticisms he's made against Trump, and that's not an accident. He has said that Trump is not democratic, he should not be president of the United States. What in fact he is doing, as we do in the world of the CIA, is he's covering his own mentee or protege. In this case, is Gina Haspel, who, working with Pompeo, has been very effective, along with all the CIA operatives and military intelligence, to put together an incredible peace treaty between North Korea, South Korea, as well as a peace treaty where Syria, Jordan, Israel, Iran, and Russia will all come together. Now, why am I so sure of this trifecta? Because more and more noise is coming out of these three elements: North Korea, Russia, and Syria, all of which make no sense on the surface. But when you think of it in paradoxical intention and you reverse all of the elements involved, that is denial, distortion, deception, you begin to see a picture which Trump could only have created, because he thinks big, he leverages his assets and covers his downside. So I expect a trifecta to come out of Singapore: North Korea, South Korea peace treaty, Syria initiating a peace treaty and with Iran and Israel, and Russia initiating another treaty with Iran, Israel, North Korea, and China.
Now, I tried to paint this picture and I couldn't do it, but I thought, that's so outrageously, it's just an outrageous statement that I thought, let's pay attention to it.
Point of ridiculous optimism.
Yeah, well, he calls it the inverted, whatever you call it, like, you know, it's the upside down, exactly the opposite. So yeah. I don't know if it's optimism or he's not really.
The outcome is optimistic.
Yeah, but he's not really an optimistic guy, believe me.
Right, which makes you wonder.
Yes. Which is why
in fact, if you're going to go by his own theory, everything he said is BS.
What do you mean?
Well, he says everything that people are saying is just the opposite because it's all part of a scheme.
Oh, so then wouldn't
that be true for him too?
Hey, man, Q says it's true. Just quickly on Q. If this truly were an informant who flies on Air Force One, and is connected to the president and there's secret signals.
QAnon.
Yeah, QAnon.
But why don't we break, just before you go on with that, I don't think 1/10 of our listeners even know what you're talking about. Why don't you give them a little background on this, because it's not something we ever talk about on the show.
We have brought it up in the past, typically mockingly. So there is this person who showed up on, I don't know if it was 4chan or 8chan or 16chan or 64chan. Yeah. And under the handle QAnon, and started posting cryptic messages that included stuff like follow the white rabbit. And there's a number of people who are completely convinced they have cracked multiple codes, and it's between what Q writes and what Trump tweets. And look, he misspelled this word the same way that it was misspelled there, and there's numerology involved. And that's
like the guys who decode the Bible. And they take you like the first word in the upper left-hand corner, and then you go down to over one.
Yes, you expect Tom Hanks will do the movie version of QAnon. Exactly.
Yeah, he'd be QAnon.
And I, it's okay. Of course I've looked at it, and I'm just like, yeah, this connecting dots, and and there's a lot of people are so adamant about this, and there's tons of archive websites, and people really, really believe it. But the reason why I'm not believing it is every little shitheel who is maybe some kind of informant gets the full coal raking from the M5M. Look at Guccifer. We know, why do we even know Guccifer 2.0's name? These kinds of names: Fuzzy Bear, Bozo Bear, the Huggy Bear. All these different bears. We know all the codes, everything, but never a single thing about QAnon ever. Have you seen it on the M5M? Has it ever shown up? It's big enough. It's really big enough for them to pick up on it. So I think it's some
maybe
kind
this time is coming.
Some kind of psyop. It's certainly keeping people busy. It's keeping people busy and happy they voted for Trump. So that's okay. Fine, do that. But I'm not buying it. I see no evidence. And now people are going to say, I quit listening. I block you on Twitter. But I just don't see it. Now, before we take a break, I certainly didn't see it, and I owe a big apology to Mark Maron of the WTF podcast. And I really messed it up.
Yeah, I want to second the apology, even though I really didn't know anything about the whole thing, because it was a surprise to me, too. But I was partly responsible because I was thinking to myself, because Maron made a big fuss about it on Twitter. And
let me go back and just say what happened. One of our producers Sunday emailed me, and I do my prep in the morning. Emailed me and said, "Here's a discrepancy in this bit where Maron republished his original interview from 2011 with Anthony Bourdain." And there's a piece in the original where he talks about Chantix and how it makes you loopy and makes you want to commit suicide. And he's a lifetime smoker. And whenever he feels like cheating or is cheating on, with smoking, he goes on the Chantix. And Dan could not find this in the reposted episode. And to me, the entire connection between Anthony Bourdain's death and Chantix is what matters. But as a beautiful aside, the fact that it was missing from Mark Maron's podcast and I think the way the conversation went is I said, well, maybe it's just trying to be politically correct because he talks about suicide, which would be kind of wimpy. It could be that, his advertisers didn't want that, or that there may be some advertising issue there. And, but I think without a doubt, we said, well, this would be holy moly. They've gotten to the podcast now. So it was not great because I didn't check this.
It wouldn't be a shocker.
Now, what happened is, and, Dan is extremely embarrassed. He's mortified. And he wrote me an email and he said, oh, man, because he really did look for it. He couldn't find it because Maron republished with a different intro and different commercials. And that's why the time difference was so off. And, so it was not malice on anyone's part. What happened, though, is that some of our fine producers on Twitter just went, hey, Mark Maron, you pharma shill.
Yeah.
So, and
he got grief.
And he really is, I don't know, it's hard. There's no context in text, but even my harshest critics, I don't answer that way. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I take responsibility. I did not check it, and I fucked up. And I'm really sorry. I apologize to him and his production crew, because there's quite a lot of people apparently who put that together. And what hurts me the most is I'm going to take my clip of the day away. So, gone.
Yeah, well, you had 3 clips of the day for that show, so it's not like you're suffering.
No, but I
there's no blood loss.
No, there isn't. And I think we should give him some pharma.
You've got pharma.
There you go. So,
yeah, I sent him a note saying we'd apologize.
Yeah, and you did so in the newsletter.
We don't mind doing that. It's not like we're butthurt because we have to apologize. I think it was a good thing to do. And we do correct our mistakes on this show, and I mentioned that in the newsletter.
Yeah.
Except there was a mistake in the newsletter.
What did you do wrong in the newsletter?
There was a typo. I had rewritten one of the things when I was talking about the apology to Mark Maron coming, and I left a word out, so I had to open the newsletter to read it to you. But there's a word missing, and say, jeez. And it was right. And the reason it happened, because this happens, the only time there's going to be typo, we have a lot of people check the newsletter, even though they don't always do it. I always do a read through out loud. But then once in a while, I'll go back in the newsletter and I decide I'm going to do a last minute tweak.
Well, and you send it to 3 people, one of which is me, and we're all supposed to find mistakes, and we miss them too sometimes.
Well, this mistake didn't go to you because this was one of these. Just before I ship, I do a last minute tweak. I'll look at a sentence and say,
Oh no! Just before it dropped, you pulled it back.
Before it dropped. And so I made it, and I left the word out because when I clipped and moved things around, it's just the word was missing, and I go, one guy wrote in and said, "Hey, you screwed this up." But anyway, so we wanted to get that out of the way.
Also, just going back to, because and this is what I find the saddest, is that I believe there is a very real possibility of linkage between Chantix, which can definitely make you suicidal, and Anthony Bourdain's death. And, there are a few alternative news outlets picking up on this and asking questions. But then Rose McGowan came out with a statement, and she said, well, he didn't take doctor's advice and he was having a rough patch. And the rough patch may be the fact that she was making out with another guy, which she then rebuffed as, well, Anthony and I have an open relationship.
Rose McGowan?
No, Asia. I'm sorry. His girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Who was I said it out of. So Asia Argento is friends with McGowan, and McGowan wrote a communique at the behest of Asia. And in that, she said, he didn't listen to us. This is then from his girlfriend through Rose McGowan, that he did not take his doctor's advice in, quote, depression battle.
Mm.
But, if you're in France and, your girlfriend's hanging out and putting pictures on Instagram of making out with some other young dude.
Well, maybe the Instagram photos and the whole social media thing had something to do with it then.
It could. And then just throw in.
This is stupid. It's stupid. These are adults that are putting pictures of themselves kissing people?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like what kids do in high school, maybe.
Yeah. Welcome to the universe.
Well, I want to, since you brought this up, before we go and do our next block, I might as well bring this clip in because I noticed that the mainstream media, it wasn't just one network. I think I have the NBC version. They all, because of this situation, and I think, and I would imagine that Maron's influence had something to do with it too, which is the idea that Chantix might be a culprit, is to create a smokescreen. No, Chantix not the culprit. And believe me, everybody played this story. It's all sorts of possibilities here. And this is the medicine and depression puff piece that I have a clip of.
The warning tonight, some of the medications Americans most commonly take could have serious side effects. Depression, even suicidal symptoms.
You are in a black hole. You can't get out. You can't move. You can't call for help.
Mary Curran Hackett has battled depression and survived 2 suicide attempts. While her reasons were many, she's convinced her medication may have contributed.
I felt lonely, and suicide seemed like the best option for me at the time.
Now, new research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association finds 38% of adults use a medication that can have depression as a side effect. 200 medications, not just antidepressants, beta blockers, and opioids already linked to depression, but also gabapentin, prednisone, prescription dose ibuprofen, and over-the-counter acid reflux medications.
The more medications you're on, the greater the likelihood of having a side effect from the medication, including depression.
Psychiatrist Joshua Weiner.
Are we simply an over-medicated society and we don't know how these meds interact?
I think so. I think the problem is, in this country, we're looking for the quick fix. We turn to medicine before we turn to lifestyle.
Well, whoever said that has some clue.
Well, that's true, but this whole storyline did never mentioned Bourdain, didn't have anything to do with anything going on. It was an out of the blue story, and I think it was set up as a smokescreen. Just depression. Oh, you can't bring that topic up because this is everything you're taking. Ibuprofen, in fact, I use ibuprofen occasionally, and my daughter comes up. She says ibuprofen causes depression, and then I said, there's none that I know of, but. Meanwhile, we listened to that clip, and in that clip, they mention ibuprofen, but they say prescription strength.
Well, this is interesting. This research paper, I'm looking at the copy of it from the JAMA Network, which I think is one of those official places where you publish research.
Yeah.
And this was published on June 12th, 2018. So the timing is beautiful. If you're talking about creating a smokescreen, it's like, hey, we got that emergency backup paper ready?
I look for it, boss.
As an editor, when I was editing InfoWorld, I would have under my desk a stack of pre-written material because our page count would vary too much for a normal magazine. It would just go up and down and up. But that's why I needed to all of a sudden bring out stacks of stuff. Here, fill with this.
Really?
So you always have, all editors, I believe, most of them have at the ready stuff like that.
What is so interesting, though, is that in all the reporting, because I put a number of them in the show notes related to this topic. None of them mention smoking cessation drugs. As we go to birth control, your hormonal birth control medication. What else do they have? Some painkillers. Here we go. Hormonal birth control, blood pressure, heart medication, painkillers, and was it acid reflux? They got everything in there, but let's not mention the smoking cessation drug that has proven to drive people wacky.
It's almost as though they got wind of some people bitching about Chantix in particular, and the Bourdain thing in particular. They got wind of it maybe getting some traction. We've been talking about it for, 5, 6
Something
years.
Like that. Yeah.
But we're getting no traction. But maybe it's going to start getting traction. Let's throw the smoke screen up, and then, that'll kill it. And it did.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C. The C stands for Chantix Communique Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Kerr, also in the morning all ships at sea. The boots on the ground, the feet in the air, the subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
Yes, in the morning to the troll room, noagendastream.com. Thanks, trolls. Good to see you. Miss you. 4 days. And I'd like to thank the artist for episode 1041. The title of that was Harry Mary, and we had the weaponized Chantix ammunitions box as the artwork. We chose that. Mike Riley did that, and we appreciate what he did. It was the starter month box Chantix tablets. It just fit. It fit well. Art was tough, I recall.
Yes, we had to dig.
We did dig, but it's appreciated, and all the work that our artists do, who uploaded
a lot of it has to do with the topics sometimes don't lend themselves to great art.
It's outrageously cool that we get new art for every single show. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. You can look at all of them. That's all under our open source concept, and you can also go to NoAgendaShop.com, get some of your favorite art and mugs and T-shirts. It's good stuff. Welcome to the party.
All right. Well, so we start off with good news and bad news.
Uh-oh.
So our donor, Sir Onimus of Dogpatch in Lower Slobovia, came in with it says 650, but it should be 1,300.
What?
Now, what happened?
Is that the bad news? Is that the bad news?
Hopefully, it will be. He won't do this again. But he sent an envelope with 2 Krugerrands.
Huh. Gold coins?
Yes.
And
so only one arrived. Now, and it arrived loose in the envelope. He had them in his little containers, but he taped down, but he didn't do a very good job of taping them down because one of the Kruger, because they get beat up in these machines.
Yes. And so it was in pneumaticist packaging?
No.
Oh.
That's the problem. And so it was like just loose coins. And so he's got these, which I don't know where he's getting these, but so he had the 2 coins, and both of them got out of their little plastic container, and one of them got out of it was beaten, flying around. This is a very heavy coin, and it just pushed a hole in the envelope and snuck its way out. And now somebody in the Postal Service is happy.
Yes.
And the other coin was just roaming around in the envelope. So when I opened the envelope, it fell right out. So I want to make that.
And this is so that's half an ounce, 1 Krugerrand?
They're both half ounces, half
right.
Krugers.
Right. So
Kruger's a whole ounce.
Yes. And which is $1,300, give or take.
Yeah.
Like we're going to go to the gold market and sell it.
Yeah, we'd be keeping it.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of a very disappointed that happened, but this sort of thing.
Yeah. But the thought and the gesture is appreciated.
And I thought it was a good idea, and I've never had a Kruger in my hand. Well, of course, I still haven't. I've only had half Krugers.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to thank him for trying. A little more care, I think, would have made a difference.
Does he have a note?
Yes. He always has a note. NJNK, I might as well say, at the top. Thank you to and all the producers that keep the show packed with information and value to its listeners. For non-donors, if this network is good enough to listen to 6 hours a week, it's worth 6 minutes of your time to donate something. With this show's help, watching M5M is rare, and when I do, I see embedded bias in the press.
Mm-hmm.
During a recent, as we pointed out in this report on North Korea, and nobody read the document, during a recent broadcast of a President T conference, I saw different channels displayed next to each other on 2 TVs. In one, Mr. T and his red tie popped right out. On the other, he was washed out. Thinking it might be different television tuning, I reversed the channels of the TVs. The TV with the washed out Mr. Trump made him vibrant, and the vibrant TV made him look washed out. I noted the same thing on 4 more televisions tuned to the 2 networks. Listeners can speculate which network has filters. The observation has drawn me to wonder about network camera filters. You two have more observations, so I asked, do you notice network camera filter bias?
Network camera filter bias.
I think that would be. I don't think that'd be done as filter. I think that would be done at the engineering level when you do the color balancing for the feed, the whole network feed.
It's hard for me to imagine a professional in the field doing that to the image. It is such a, particularly shading and this kind of, these guys are, that's their professional integrity. I mean, if they're willing to give that up, I don't think they would.
The guys who do that are not political usually. Anyway, a picture's powerful, and who believes the words of a pasty-faced, washed-out speaker? Well, there was a discussion.
Photography, yes, the bias is there. We know 100%. Just look at the Angela Merkel angry versus Angela Merkel happy photo of her leaning over the desk at Trump at the G7. That bias, of course, that bias is there. So,
and there was a discussion. I don't know if it was on Frontline or if it was actually on CBS itself, discussing using close-ups, bad close-ups on 60 Minutes. It's possible that something is amiss, but we don't have any evidence of it.
No.
For Muhammad Ali, try global entry. My wife renewed her passport last year and didn't renew global entry. 4 of the 5 entries since were Quad S.
Oh.
Worse, okay, he's just not. He says
so that means he had to go into the little bad boy room.
So he's saying for all you Muslim listeners, is what he's really saying.
Attention, Muslims. Here's what.
Welcome to America, Muslims.
Okay, my wife renewed her passport and she didn't renew global entry. 4 of the 5 entries were Quad S. Worse, last month she made a joking comment to an Emirates stewardess. Who are required to report suspicious issues.
Oh, jeez.
After That was after a Quad S search in Dubai before boarding, and that despite being a citizen. She still gets nervous going through immigration. Yes, she has a status on the airline and was front of the bus and was front of the bus. When she collected her bags, an immigration officer from across the baggage claim area made a beeline for her, and she spent the next 45 minutes going through her bags. Next, and this is all believable.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say that when Tina and I came back from Mexico, we came through Houston, and I have the global entry, and I've already seen that it's really not a lot of benefit. And so I said, no, I'll just go through with you. I don't need to be like ahead of you and stand there and wait for you to come through just to wait together for the bag. That's rude. And the machines, now it's just all kiosks everywhere. And the machines are more modern than the global entry machines. They work better. They're faster. They're much better than these older models. And then, so there's a little bit of a line, but there's just a guy going, paper, okay, good. And you go through and you're done. There's almost no difference except for the $450 I paid for it. And I guess if your name is Mohammed, you want to have it because, hey.
Welcome to America, Muslims.
Sorry about that. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for sure.
Next advice. I keep pics of jewelry with their receipts on the Mushroom Cloud for such events so you can show proof rather than argue over ownership when you return with jewelry from the wedding season.
Yes.
I've paid taxes twice on some items just to get through. Okay.
He's getting targeted, man.
He's irked.
I can imagine.
Producers, and now that's why he's so anonymous.
Now, what is the Mushroom Cloud besides the obvious?
No, the cloud. He's just talking about the cloud.
He's just joking around. Okay.
He doesn't need to be known as a no agenda supporter. Anyway,
you have 2 times Quad S.
Okay, here we go. Then he's rapping now. We're rapping. Producers, please create a, quote, republics are not democracies jingle. Every time I hear our government referred to as a democracy in clips, I get upset.
Yeah.
And it seems to be getting worse.
Okay.
Well, that's an issue in itself, and there's probably reason for that.
Yeah.
So lead the change, please, and correct it every time. We correct it a lot.
We do. I do.
But we can't. But he's right. You can't correct it all the time because it would be tedious. Because these guys keep saying it.
Yeah.
Enclosed are some original Bitcoins, 80s style. Those are the 2 coins we're talking about. Volatile value originated from an illegal mine in a boycotted country. But it works everywhere when the grid is down.
Yeah. Well, sadly, we saw in this particular case that the Bitcoin might have reached its destination.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for the old sneaker network.
And there you have it.
Thank you very much, Sir Anonymous of Dogpatch.
For both the letter and the contribution.
And the Krugerrands. The Krugs, baby. It's the Krugs.
Onward. Sir Michael of the Third World, East Asia, Seattle, Washington. Well, it's probably obviously someplace else. $333. Greetings, gents. Please accept my donation of $333. Thanks for the best podcast in the universe, and thanks for the godfather of podcasting, Adam Curry.
Oh, thank you.
Please take some and put it towards your hearing aid.
You know,
we'll get an update on that.
I have to. Yeah, I will update. Remind me to update you on the hearing aid search.
Can I please get a Jobs Karma dealer's choice for a Sharpton and an Obama? You might die.
Chloe, let me go to you.
I'm sorry. Was there more?
Yeah.
Oh.
You can read this or not, but I know my PayPal shows Seattle. Trust me, I'm not in Seattle. Okay, that's what I figured.
Sir Michael of Third World, Southeast Asia.
Chloe, let me go to you first. What's the latest tonight in Iowa?
Well, in Ottawa. Well, the situation is less tense than before.
You might die.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Zachary Montgomery in Kannapolis, North Carolina, 300. Douchebag call out for John Kuhneman.
Douchebag.
And I guess it's it's either Tyne or Tina, probably Tyne Coleman.
Douchebag also douchebag?
Also, wedding karma for them. Great. Wedding karma for them. Please play. This is another great example of random number. Please play Al Sharpton, Flame Out of Butt.
That's not Sharpton.
Well, he's got Sharpton on the mind. Whoever's got the Flame Out of Butt as Star Wars, and he sent email.
I'm not so sure about the Star Wars thing, but anyway, I got the karma for you and this.
Otherwise, you're going to have a flame coming out of your butthole. Preacher, you won't be able to sit down.
You've got karma.
I love that Manning is now being confused with Sharpton.
Yeah.
And that's kind of poetic.
And he's got a note that we can read off that. So it's not important. He says read on the air. Kevin Laux, Laux, $216.18 becomes associate executive producer. My annual donation coming in a show early because I need jobs karma. I will be interviewing for a new role at my company. Next year, the show falls on my birthday when I will be turning 33. I plan on joining the round table during that show.
Nice.
The show on the 20th of June 2019, 20 minus 6 plus 19 equals 33. Coincidence? I think not.
Wait a minute. He subtracted 6 and then added 19? Okay. I agree. Coincidence? I think not.
Can you add me to the birthday list?
Yeah, he's on.
No jingles, just karma.
Jobs.
And jobs karma.
Jobs, jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Keith McColpin, $200. The Bourdain Shantic segment was amazing and worth the time and money to make another donation. Damn.
Thank you, Keith. That's appreciated.
Robert Umberger in Land, Pennsylvania, which may be Lancaster, but I guess not. Land.
It's got to be It's got to be Lancaster.
That's what I would think,
yeah.
but you never know. This is my second donation. It's totally worth it. Everyone who listens should support the show. I need a de-douching.
Yeah, we can do that.
You've been de-douched.
I got to tell you, I've been around Pennsylvania quite a bit back in the radio days because they got a lot of really bad top 40 stations, and in the Lancaster area. That is one of the places in the United States that I felt most isolated. And I don't know why. Just whenever I think of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, I just remember, like, wow, where the hell am I? Have you ever been to? I mean, it's a proper city, but just I recall that so vividly. Like, this feels far, far away, and you're not. It's Pennsylvania. Anyway,
it's just a short drive to Philly.
Side note:
either Pittsburgh or Philly. You always can go to those two places, or Harrisburg. Those are all big towns.
Harrisburg. Yep, been there. WSQV, the Susquehanna Valley, everybody. Woohoo!
I want to give a shout out to my amazing wife, Lori. Today, June 14th, Flag Day is her birthday. We could have promoted that a little better. If you could, anyone who wants a Flag Day donation, today's the day. If you could add her birthday to the list and hook her up with a MILF jingle and some karma for our new house and second human resource on the way, that would be great. Happy birthday, Lori. She listens to the show on Sundays with me when we are working on the house, hanging out. It really spurs some great discussions about the news and current culture. Thank you both very much for all the hard work you put into the show.
No, thank you very much.
You've got karma.
Something very wrong about that.
Yeah, it's very wrong. Very wrong. Very bad.
Very, very wrong about that.
So we want to thank all these folks for being executive producers and associate executive producers for show 1042. If I get the number right.
Yes, we sure do. And these credits, which you receive in this special segment, just like Hollywood, for executive producer and associate executive producer donations, are credits that you can actually use wherever credits are recognized. We'll vouch for you. We'll talk to people. Have them call us. We'll say, yeah, executive producer, absolutely, did the business. And we'll be thanking everyone else who came in, $50 or above in our second segment, and of course another show coming up on Sunday where I'm sure we'll have plenty to deconstruct regarding the memo, the IG memo that came out today. Of course, it comes out today. It's a show day.
Dvorak.org AmericaNA.
But you'll have plenty more to go out there and tell people as you propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Okay, before we go on, I do, because I'm looking at Montgomery's note that he also sent on, besides the donation.
Yeah.
And there is a moment here I have to read.
Oh.
Adam mentioned one time, but he goes on, he loves the show, and he's got a couple of notes here, but he says, Adam mentioned one time they being able to turn your car off.
Yes, I put this note in the show notes. Interesting you bring it up. Yeah.
They already can. I repossess cars for money right now, and I've had cars that are turned off by the finance companies. It must be in their contracts. We also get cars by GPS sometimes. Again, depends on their contract with their financier. Also, we as a company drive around vehicles with plate scanners on them searching for repos. Every tag we scan is added to the database with a timestamp photo and 8-digit grid coordinates, your make and model, and owner information if it's a repo.
Yep.
I like it for work, but I think it's terrifying at the same time.
I love that they can just turn it off remotely. Beautiful. Yeah. It's in every, well, you're not in your it's not in your Lexus because that's old. It's not in the 1990?
Yeah, no.
What year?
93.
93.
So 25 years old. It's now considered a classic in California.
It's my Nokia would look nice in your car. My E71. Yes.
That old car still has a car phone.
With a cord attached to the body of the vehicle?
Yeah.
Nice.
And the little antenna that used to be on the roof. That probably was the safest mobile phone there was because you didn't have sticking a radio receiver
up against your head,
antenna against your head.
Yeah, and I'm a little worried about this because I've been looking at hearing aids because it's time, and I've learned a lot. Thank you, producers, for sending in all different notes. 10 out of 10 producers have recommended what store for me to go purchase a hearing aid.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Well, it wouldn't be Amazon because they're specifically saying go to purchase.
Yep. Yeah,
so I'm dropping Amazon.
Deconstructing my words, but yes, that is correct. I could have left it more open-ended.
So and it wouldn't be a grocery store. So it has to be one of the chains, and there's not that many left. It has to be one of the drugstore chains, and I would guess Walgreens.
Not even close.
Oh.
Costco.
Oh. Well, that's funny. The irony of that is that's what you told me to go check out the prices.
Because, well, after the show, we were talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've already checked out the prices, but everyone has said, and we have a lot of, it's listening instrument. It's not hearing aid. It's a listening instrument. So we have a lot of listening instrument users in the No Agenda community. And without fail, Costco. They say, look, you may think that the new ones that cost $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 that are invisible. He says that the tech just can't do it yet because you have DSP, digital signal processing. There's all kinds of stuff going on. It's very, very difficult to miniaturize that inside your ear and have it deliver the same results as on the back of the ear. Which I gotten some nice notes like, dude, forget about it. Would you rather look cool and not have visible hearing aids, or would you be able to hear people? That makes sense. And by the way, they got some nice shiny black models and stuff, but you can hook them up to Bluetooth. And I'm a little concerned about the Bluetooth really on both sides of my head, nuking away.
Yeah, I'd avoid it.
Anyway, we're going to Costco Saturday. So I'll
Is she a Costco member?
Tina has been trying to get me to become a member of Costco since I've known her. And
well, did she know the backstory?
The backstory of Costco?
Yeah.
You mean when I went there and couldn't become a member?
No, when you went there and they wouldn't take your money.
Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't let me become a member because they didn't have an American Express. You had to do it.
No, they weren't. It wasn't that. I was going to use my membership. I was there.
Yeah. Well, tell me how it went because I forgot. It was for a sound bar or a TV or what was it?
I think it was for a TV.
Yeah.
And you went in there and either that or a camera, one of the two, one of the three, because I could have been the camera. But you wanted to pay for it with a credit card, and they wouldn't take it because this is when they were American Express only. But now, of course, it's credit card only. They changed. And you didn't have cash. They would have taken a check, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't
And so
have
then
that.
you got all bent out of shape, and you said, I'll never go to Costco again. I hate Costco. If you even mention Costco, I'll go ballistic. Don't talk about – you went on and on.
And by the way, the resemblance to how I said it is just uncanny. Perfect. Just
I'm
unbelievably
really good. I'm a very good mimic.
Yeah.
So that was that. And so you got bitch. And I tried to calm you down and saying, hey, it's not that bad. It's just the way it is. They get these rules. And now, boom, things have changed.
Yes. Well, now I can't hear.
You will like Costco's actually a good operation.
Now now I'm having trouble hearing. So, so now, of course, my tune has changed. The most expensive ones they have is $1,500.
Well, which model are they recommending for you?
Well, I'm Saturday. I will do my test and we'll see what they recommend. But it's all kind of the same stuff. This comes down to how many DSPs and and here's what I don't want. You can use your smartphone with an app to control it. No, I do not want that. I mean, what's next? You might as well put those things on my glasses. Remember those? You had the hearing aid incorporated into the glasses.
Oh, yeah, there's that. And then for an extra $10, they can put a piece of tape around the bridge of your glasses so you look like a complete idiot.
And make them that, whoever came up with that sickly earwax color for medical devices, especially for hearing aids. It just looks like big gobs of earwax. Don't you agree? I mean, that's always been
much about it.
That's good. Well, my grandmother was deaf at a very early age. My father, I mean, this is hereditary too. So,
that's
yeah. What?
What?
What? Yeah. Anyway. Oh, Colorado's on fire. I think they need a shake. You got the stick?
Yeah, actually, there's a whole bunch of fires everywhere. You want to do a shake? One lone shake?
No, Colorado is pretty bad now. I think that needs 3 shakes, and that'll be good for. Well, look, it's going to rain in Austin in a couple of days. That's always what happens when we use the rain stick. But we're taking it on. We really want to help Colorado. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Is that your rain stick or is that a maraca?
I'm shaking it. Make the little balls all fall out.
Oh, you shouldn't be. You got to turn it upside down. No wonder it only rains in Austin.
I flip it upside down and then I shake the little balls at the end.
You should not be shaking it. It's just let gravity.
I don't believe that's true.
Let gravity do its work, and you should not.
I'm shaking it all.
Sherry Osborne listens to the show, and she will send me an email. I'm no longer on FaceBag, so she'll have to send me an email, and she's the one who built them. And she knows.
I want to mention that you're not on Facebook. You should go back to Facebook.
I'm not going to.
Well, for one thing, everyone thinks that you will. But now they're just pestering my wife.
So why do I have to go back to save her? Mimi should get.
Oh, you should talk about this. The show should talk about this. You should talk about that. And I don't know. They're really jacked up about this Einstein story, which the more I think about it, what's the point? Who cares?
Oh, because he was a racist and a xenophobe?
This was a promotion to sell his book.
Yeah.
Hello.
No one saw that on the FaceBag. Now do you understand why I'm not there? Come over to noagendasocial.com. It's just a browser click away. If it's so important, there's smart people there too.
Yeah, go there and then pester Adam there.
Nah, these networks, they have DNA of their own, and I think it's the same for the subgroups. Like, you go into a no agenda group on FaceBag. It's toxic. There's poisonous people in there, and I got no time for it. I really don't. I was reading through the, we might as well stick with FaceBag just for a second. They answered in a 270-page response to Congress, all the follow-up questions. Yes, sir. My team will get to you, and we'll tell you all about whatever. We'll answer your questions. It's quite.
Are you talking about Facebook's testimony?
Yes. So you have the testimony, but then you have the responses to the written questions. 454 pages. Is that big enough for you? I got some stuff though.
Okay.
Let me see how I can best categorize this. Let's start with device information. Facebook tracks what device you're using to access the network. To do this, it logs hardware manufacturer of your smartphone, connected television, tablet, computer, or other internet-connected devices. It tracks operating system, software versions of web browser. If you're using a smartphone, it will keep a record of the mobile carrier, while internet service providers will be storing for users using a Wi-Fi or Ethernet connection to access Facebook. In some cases, it will monitor devices that are using the same network as you. I'm not quite sure what monitor means. Facebook services inherently operate on a cross-device basis. Okay, so they're trying to make it sound good to ensure that the person's feed is correct. Facebook watches the movements of your computer mouse on screen where you're interacting with the social network. I've always said this, that as you're scrolling and you just pause for a moment on something, they know this. And if you're pausing and you're not even clicking, they know that. And here it is. Well, of course, they say this type of information can help distinguish humans from bots. Tracking the app you use to interact with Facebook helps the company learn the types of devices you favor. Keeps note of the file names in your system. Data is synced with your profile and will influence the types of advertisements you see. So they're looking at your files that you had, of course, they analyze every photo, do all kinds of recognition on it. Not just the XLF data or the XIF data, whatever it is. Is it XLIF? XLIF?
No, it's
that stuff. That stuff.
XIM, whatever it is.
They know if your browser window is in the foreground or the background, if you close it, if you have it in a tab. We collect information about how you use your products. Let me see. Time, frequency of of course, is normal stuff, just how you use it. Device connections. Connection from your smartphone, tablet, laptop, or smart TV. This is an interesting one. Monitors the signal strength of your mobile data connection. Bluetooth signals and information about nearby Wi-Fi hotspots and cell towers. You can actually track someone pretty accurately with if you have the exact battery level. If you have that data, and obviously FaceBag's app does all this. Devices that are nearby. Which means if someone, and this explains, someone comes onto my network, then we're going to get friend recommendations. But then there's, let me see, I have about 20, there's all kinds of stuff. As well as tracking purchases made from third-party websites made online. Facebook keeps an eye on your buying habits. We receive information about a person's online, offline actions and purchases from third-party data providers who have the rights to provide us with that person's information, which is pretty much everybody. So they get all kinds of third-party info. They track it. If you've bought something on a third-party site, they track that purchase. Photo shares, messages sent. So they
What gives them the right to track a purchase I made someplace else?
Well, it's the right that you gave to the person who you purchased the product from. They have the right, the little terms of service. And the minute you say, okay, then they sell that to FaceBag, or they exchange it. I'm not quite sure what the mechanism of what the barter is there. Facebook tracks your general usage, of course, to improve advertising and design features, date and time of your visit, the features you used, what posts, videos, other content. It does the same thing for your friends and friends of friends. Can you imagine that? 3 layers, not just +1, but +2. That's quite a lot. And I think that's going a bit far. Now, they are completely adamant. We do not activate, monitor, or capture microphone or camera data without the user's knowledge and permission. And later on in the document, Facebook does not engage in these practices or capture data from a microphone or camera without consent. Hello? Can anyone read legalese? So in summary, device information, mouse movements, app and file names, how you're running the browser, signals, nearby Wi-Fi access points, beacons, cell towers, signal strength, Bluetooth signals, other devices on the network, available storage space, what plugins, your connection speed, contact information, address book, of course, call log, SMS log history for Android users who have these settings synced. They might not know that. Information about how users use. I like this verbiage. We also store and track and analyze information about how users use features like our camera. And I just thought that was pretty brazen. Is there a Facebook camera that I don't know of?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't use Facebook and I don't follow them that closely to know this, but not that I know of.
I just thought it was fun that they said our camera. It's the last time I checked. It was.
Well, that's worth looking into. Why are they saying our camera?
I don't know. The location of a photo or data file was created. GPS location, camera or photos information found through device settings. Purchase made from third-party data providers. The thing that you rarely think about is the photos, because they're not just analyzing photos on location data and aperture settings. They're analyzing what's in the photo. Hey, I see a lot of dog pics. Guess what kind of ads you're going to get? I mean, you don't really think about it, but all these websites where you're uploading pictures, they can know where it is just by analyzing the background sometimes. I think that technology, I think they're
always thought it was incredibly foolish for people to put personal photos on the internet.
Yes.
In Flickr or any place, Facebook. Flickr. Because if I'm hiring and I'm doing due diligence, let's say it's at a high level, I'm going to first thing I'm going to do is look at those photos and find out if you're like a goofball.
Right.
I see a lot of drunks, hey, I'm drunk, look. And they post these photos of themselves being drunk or goofing around or doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just negative. It's not a good positive thing for you to do.
No.
Why would you do it?
They don't care.
They don't care.
No, they don't care.
That's pretty much, yeah. That's got to be it. That's the only thing I can think of.
We have quite an interesting situation here in the common law condo. As one of the keeper's daughters is staying with us for the summer. She has her final year of school coming up. And I had the Amazon talking tube, and everyone used that for the shopping list and turning the lights on and off. And, well, I got rid of it. And so I brought in Mycroft, which is the open source one, which is slow and buggy. And it works. It works, but it doesn't work the same. And so now they're all pissed off at me. Like, well, this is a piece of shit. I said, yeah, well, I got it to I got it to control the Roku yesterday. I'm quite pleased with myself. So you can just say, show The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix, and it switches and starts playing it. Yeah, that's actually a time saver.
Oh, yeah, I bet it saves just unbelievable amounts of time. I mean, hours.
I'm telling you, in 10 years, there'll be a lot of this, and I'm riding the wave, baby. I just don't want to ride the wave with the big corporations in Silicon Valley. I love the technology. And by the way, it's all regular expressions. Every single skill, as they call it, the so-called AI, it's just regular expressions. Just going, every possibility of the words you use is stored and for ready access, and the actual translation from speech to text, that works pretty reliably. And then it just runs through this whole database of, wow, what the hell did he mean? There's no AI in there, no artificial nothing. It's grepping it out. Yeah. Anyway, I was a little perturbed on Sunday as I was watching the Chonies, which I thought was a fantastic show.
Yeah, I didn't get any clips.
I got some.
And
clips.
There's no reason you couldn't get a good clip of the De Niro thing.
Yeah, I got a good clip of the De Niro thing.
You got it where it was uncensored?
Yeah, in Australia, the feed was not censored. But let me tell you my experience.
Okay.
So I'm excited. I got Choney fever, and I thought it was great. There was all kinds of, there was some funny stuff. I liked the hosts.
I'll tell you, I was stunned by Josh Groban.
That guy can deliver some lines.
Now, he's not only a good comic, but he's a good singer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very good.
He's not like the girl is a real, Broadway singer.
She's a
and
star.
writer.
She's a superstar.
And she wrote I'm pretty sure she wrote all the comedy songs that they did.
Probably.
Because she did the play Waitress, which is a good play.
Yeah.
And she's just very talented. But I was stunned by him. I thought they were very good hosts. I think they covered well for De Niro. De Niro's obviously put on there for that exact purpose because he's done it before.
Hold on, let's not go there first. I wanted.
Okay,
I
I'm
thought
gonna let you go because I just want to say why I watched the Tonys because they really although this one was disappointing, but they usually play the best bits from the various musicals, usually the best bits. And I didn't think they did that this year. I thought it was pretty. I thought that the acts were pretty.
Well,
mediocre.
I have not seen any of these plays or musicals. I just love me some people doing something live on stage, and I thought the direction was interesting. They used a lot of jibs from up top behind, which you normally won't see. Of course, not if you're in a theater. They had to keep that in mind. I liked the pieces they chose. I really, and so I'm like a 5 or 10 minute delay. It's like. We didn't have to sit there immediately. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. Oh, come on, Choney fever. No, we chill. I'm recording it. So we're on delay. And then we're watching. And then all of a sudden, because Bruce Springsteen's going to show up. I'm like, this will be cool. He's going to play. And then my cable box freezes. My AT&T, what's their product?
Triverse?
No, Uverse. Yeah,
that's it.
Which is on the fiber. It freezes, and I can't do anything. I have to reboot the box, destroying the recording. I could not see what happened. I missed all of Bruce Springsteen. And then, Tina, of course, she's hey, let me check the tweeters. She's, something happened. So when they nuked it, they nuked the box. And so that your copy is destroyed. Now, the next day, a full copy was restored on the DVR. They got a lot of capabilities that I'm not aware of in this Uverse device. So I think within 5 minutes, I found out that this had not been censored on the feed in Australia. Here it is, if you missed it.
I'm going to say one thing. Fuck Trump. It's no longer down with Trump, it's fuck Trump.
And what blew me away the most was the crowd's reaction.
Yes. Yeah, I was actually surprised by the crowd's reaction. It was deplorable.
I saw a few people, some women actually gasping, putting their hand to their mouth and shocked, which I think is appropriate behavior.
Yeah, probably.
But what made De Niro look dumb is then he was putting his arms up like he had beaten him or something. That just made him look stupid.
Yeah, it was a pose from Raging Bull.
Right. So it was just dumb. And to me, I don't care what he says. We know his stance on the president. It ruined the Chonies.
I think what it did, it kind of, maybe it did ruin the Tonys, but I was so stunned by the standing ovation he got for saying just this profanity.
Yeah.
That I'm thinking, as I always do when I see this, I'm thinking, here is a kind of a culture that really relies on government support.
Yes.
In pretty much every country.
National Endowment for the Arts. Yes.
They can do it on their own and be starving artists and nobody cares. But to do well, they need government support and they need the support of the public at large.
Masterpiece theater.
To do this, in light of that, is amazing to me. How stupid are these people?
Well, De Niro's rich. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the industry. I truly think he cares about trying to. Well, you know what? I'll do this out of order. So I think I don't know the timeline of this, if it was before or after the Chonies. It was the Jimmy and Rosemary Breslin American Writer Awards in New York City. Yeah. And it's a lot of young people who were honored during this. The audio's not fantastic because it's kind of caught on an iPhone wild mic, but just listen to him. Just listen to his thinking, and he also has a nice little Trump rotation rant in here.
What does the truth even mean today? I mean, if you're Donald Trump, it doesn't mean anything. If you're cowardly Republican enablers in Congress, you don't let the truth stand in the way of pathetically clinging to power. Our country is led by a president who believes he can make up his own truth. And we have a word for that. Bullshit. See, this is where you young writers have it all over me. You have the vocabulary to articulate precisely and eloquently. For example, you might say, as have many professionals, that Trump manifests a serious mental illness that renders him psychologically incapable of discharging duties of the President of the United States. That he's afflicted with a narcissistic personality disorder, that he's a congenital liar, a mean-spirited, soulless, immoral, amoral, abusive, con-artist son of a bitch. Motherfucker.
Woo! Bobby!
Well, and I say this because I'm not political, but I am now, and you guys are the future.
Now listen, here we go.
We're in a dangerous situation in this country. You know, with Hitler, with other despots, people didn't take them seriously. They laughed at them. And then what happened? Turned around and it was too late. We can't let that happen in this country, and you guys are the ones to do it.
There you go. We got everything in there, including Hitler.
I love the fact that he says I'm not political. He was a huge, massive, butthurt supporter of Hillary.
Yeah, and I'm not political at all. No.
Donated a lot of money to her campaign, worked on her behalf, did that one TV commercial. But he says he's not political. Really?
Yeah. Well, it seems to be a meme now in Hollywood and the theater world. We can just say whatever we want now. But De Niro has lowered the bar successfully. And here is actress Norma Dumezweni. She plays Hermione, I believe, in the 18-hour Harry Potter play, which also won Hermione. See, there you go. I don't even know it's Hermione. In the 18-hour Harry Potter play, here's what she had to say.
It's not 18, but it's a long play.
One.
It's like almost 6, I think. 6.
It's 2.5 hours each play. Do they do
5?
They do those 2 plays in one day? One after another?
Yeah, back to back.
Yeah, one thing that's
back to back with intermission.
Well, then I give her some grace. No wonder she's pissed.
One thing that's surprising about Harry Potter is that even though it doesn't...
This is variety. And you also got to listen to him.
One thing that's surprising about Harry Potter is that even though it's not as overtly political, like something like Angels in America, I sort of feel like there are moments in it, there are things that happen with He Who Must Not Be Named that...
He Who Must Not Be Named?
Have real resonance today, particularly in America. Are you aware of that? Do you feel that?
I really do believe that that's why this is resonating a lot at the moment. London, when it started, beautiful, and there was a moment we went, okay, this is the story we're telling, but now 2 to 3 years later since we've opened in London, to be here, you go, actually this story is getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and we us human beings are all fighting to be connected, but especially to be seen. If you're not seen or not heard, that's where dangerous stuff happens. That's where people under the radar do very cruel things, and that's what this play is about. And it's about bringing things into the light, letting your light shine. This is what JK has always been about, let the darkness out into the light, and that's why I'm very proud to be here telling this story right now, because as you intimated, those things are very important.
Should the president come see the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child?
No.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, this is a class. I saw this too, but I didn't clip it. But I'm glad you did. But I know you're always irked about sanctimonious Brits.
Yeah, I was going to say, just regarding the Tony Awards, it was all British people who were winning.
Yeah.
But yeah, sanctimony. Get out. Show me your papers. On Broadway. Patti LuPone.
Sanctimonious Brits commenting on our on our president.
You can't say that stuff in your country, young lady. I don't think you can talk that way about politicians anymore.
What do they call it when they de-block them or whatever the thing they do?
De-notice.
Talk about it. D-list.
Not D-list, de-notice. But not
D-notice.
But they're working on regulations in Gitmo Nation East. If you cannot disparage politicians on social media.
Yeah.
So, well, it's all right.
Come over here and just blast our people.
That's okay. She can come on. Yeah, I'm sure the Harry Potter show is great. Patti LuPone. LuPone?
Oh, Patti LuPone. She has been a Trump hater forever.
Tell me about she's a Choney winner, Patti LuPone. What does she play?
She's a Broadway hack. She's been there. She's old. She's been doing plays since the 30s. I don't know how old she is, but she's very famous. She's one of the
30s.
She's been one of the kind of the grand old ladies of Broadway.
Oh, okay. So she's almost like royalty of Broadway.
Yes, royalty is the word I was looking for. She's a royalty of Broadway.
She's royalty of Broadway. Okay, well, that explains the clip.
Why should President Trump come see your show?
Well, I hope he doesn't, because I won't perform if he does.
Really?
Really.
Tell me why.
Because I hate the motherfucker. How's that?
Royalty, I tell you. Royalty.
Yeah, royalty. Yeah, that's Patti LuPone. Hello.
She really says that in a very harsh... that's one of the best MFs I've heard.
Yeah, she really dislikes him for reasons that have never been explained. I wish people would explain their reason for this. That is visceral hate.
Let me just play that one bit again. Why won't that play?
Because I hate the motherfucker. How's that?
Damn, she really says that in a harsh way.
And she also says it to the point where she hates the guy she's now talking to. You know, it's almost like,
Yeah, exactly.
She's just broadcasting this deep hate, which makes you wonder, you know, as an artist, as a performer, to be living in this world of that kind of unbelievable hate. How does that improve your acting skills?
No, well, that's part of the process. You can use it. Speaking of, new show alert. Barry on HBO.
Barry?
Yeah. It's a story about...
B-U-R-Y?
No, B-A-R-R-Y, Barry.
Okay.
The guy's name is Barry. And it's a series, and we just finished it last night. And it's a good actor. I forget his name. You'll recognize him. But the premise is he's a hitman from Pennsylvania, and somehow he winds up doing a big hit in Los Angeles, and then he decides to become an actor while he's kind of still killing people.
Oh.
It's pretty funny.
Chuck Barris.
Chuck Barris, who was a $64,000 question?
The Gong Show.
He was the CIA guy, wasn't he?
Well, that's what he says.
Oh, okay. He was a hitman. He
was a CIA hitman.
He was a hitman.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love that. That's great.
There was a movie about it. It was pretty funny. So, okay, well, let's move on to I got a little side bit here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of these things. I'm watching this very good special on nature on moths.
Oh.
And apparently, you know, moths are food. Bats love eating moths, and so they've.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of moths in Austin.
I bet you don't. But a lot of moths have bred themselves or kind of evolved into mimicking the bat sound to scramble the bat's radar.
Oh, really?
I thought. Yeah,
that's some evolution for you right there.
Yeah, but the thing that came up in this special was a piece of information that I think I've been misled. So, you know, there's these things you get told all your life, and then you find out it's bull crap.
Oh, like if you have an oak closet, the moths won't go in.
Cedar,
that's what it was. Cedar. Yeah.
But what I heard was that moths and butterflies are two different species. No.
Huh.
Butterflies are moths.
No.
Extraordinary breakthrough. Using DNA sequencing, he is tracing the genetic origin of all the butterflies we've identified. Remarkably, they all share a single ancestor. a tiny brown moth that fled the night some 50 million years ago. Driven, perhaps, by the rise of bats, relentlessly hunting the dark skies. In a world full of light, moths burst into color. We call these daytime flyers butterflies, but they are really some 20,000 species of colorful moths that have spread across every continent except Antarctica.
Wow. Life-saving tips on the No Agenda Show.
Just one of those little galling factoids.
Huh.
But anyway, there's a thing, because I think a lot of people have been misled, and there it is. Take that clip, and you can use it as a bar bet. Keep it on your phone.
Does that really work for you?
Oh, yeah. I make tons of money doing this stuff.
Hey, I would like, if possible, hold on a second.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to make him better than he was before. And barely alive.
Yes, I'd like to have a little update on your bionic eye.
Oh, yeah.
How's it going with the new
Well,
lens?
the focus is improving. So it hasn't been a full week yet. It's still a little blurry in my taste.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this.
Let me guess. You have X-ray vision now.
There's a joke. Yeah, there's actually some funny humor to that.
Well, are you going to let us in on the joke or not?
No, it's too insulting to someone that would not appreciate it.
Okay.
Anyway, the problem that once you get your cataract fixed and you get a new lens, it is so bright. You have to wear sunglasses outside. You really do. I mean, you can't not wear them.
So, but that's because now your other eye is still all murky and gunky, and that one now needs to be replaced.
Murky and gunky. It's just these lenses. Over time they start cutting out the light to the point where when you're older, you only get 75% of the light in.
Oh no.
And so when you put the new lens, even with the other eye being a little pretty not as bright, everything is extremely bright. And then I go I'm now in my own house, and I'm like Mimi says, she says, we've always felt that this house is too bright because I have all lights. I got lights, lighting up the dining room.
You were a mole man. You were living in your cave.
No, so I got the dining room light, for example. I'm thinking, it's like, holy crap, I didn't know that it was this bright in the chandelier. And so I'm thinking of taking a couple bulbs out of it. And it's just, everything is just, I've been living in the dark.
We have this technology called a dimmer, a light dimmer. You might want to try one of those.
Not all LCDs work with light dim.
Oh, no. If you have LEDs in your chandelier,
everything's LEDs.
in the chandelier?
Yeah. Yeah, you get fancy bulbs for everything.
You should go off the grid, man. Put some candles in that bad boy. Go old school.
I'm not doing that, burning the house down. I think it's silly. Since we're talking about this, this brings me to this. I got these two bulbs here. I want to give some people some LED bulb buying tips.
Now, before you even go there, we know that there is an incredible cartel of light bulb manufacturers that started years ago, and they all got together as Osram and Philips and GE, and they said, hey, you know what? We're going to say 1,000 hours on the bulbs, and they'll go 1,000 hours, maybe 1,001, and they'll pop and they have to buy us a new one, and no one's going to let anyone in on the big secret that there's a light bulb that has been burning for over 100 years in a firehouse in San Francisco.
No, it's either Pleasanton or
California.
East Bay.
I knew I should have said California.
It's in the East Bay.
For more than 100 years, the light bulb, filament light bulb's been burning because there's no reason. This is planned obsolescence. Go.
Yeah. Well, that's not the case with these LEDs. These LED bulbs, and by the way, there's those fluorescent fluorescent bulbs. Those things, that was the big scam. I mean, I got rid of almost all of them. They didn't last as long as they're supposed to. They burn out. They get dull. They start losing their light. They're just terrible. It was this unbelievable scam and I would blame the Democrats for this because energy.
Yeah, and they gave us
Can't
those.
use their old bulbs.
They gave us those the CFL the bulbs that
the
threw off
CFL
radioactive energy and
and they buzz and they sputter. Oh, they're the worst. But the LED bulbs seem to be okay. And I got my bulb tips. A couple of things. And this is particularly true if you have a cataract surgery. You want to have tungsten or sometimes called soft or tungsten. You want the Kelvin to be below 3,000. Most of the good ones that I use are 2,700 Kelvin, and they're perfect. They got the right color. They got a real believable glow. You go to the ones called Daylight, and their Kelvin gets up to like 5,000. Anyone who knows photography knows what this is about. They're so blue and creepy that, they're okay during the day because they do apparently reflect daylight, but at night they're just horrible. Do not buy those bulbs ever. And I learned, by the way, at NAB, which is this is kind of an interesting little factoid for the broadcasters out there, that typically, because everyone's moving to LED stage lighting now, because it has all these advantages. Mainly,
you can control the color radiance and everything.
You can do all kinds of stuff, and it's not hot.
Yep, that's the best part.
So it keeps the studio cool. But it turns out I talked to a guy that sells this stuff. He says that the TV guys all buy the Daylight 5,000 Kelvin bulbs for their shows. So when you're looking at TV, you're looking at 5,000 Kelvin, which changes the color balance dramatically. And all the movie guys use the tungsten Kelvin, 27, 3,000, 3,500
right.
maybe.
Well, that's what they need for film.
Yeah. Just a tip. Now the other tip
that's not just a tip, John. Another fantastic no agenda tip is what that is. Yes.
Now the other thing is I recommend people you want to get at least 100 lumens per watt minimum. If you can get more than that, it's good. They can do up to, I think, 300 lumens per watt with the experimental LEDs. You're not going to find them on the market. You're going to find some 100 lumens. I like the Tiwin, Tiwin, which you can get from Amazon. And then for more powerful bulbs, I like the XM Prim, which, by the way, have more than 100 lumens per watt. And you don't want to buy the 90 lumens, 80 lumens per watt. It's just a waste of money. So that's the other key you want to make sure to look for. If you don't have at least 100 per watt, don't buy, at least 100 lumens per watt. Do not buy the bulb.
So here's a question. What do I want to get for my grow operation?
You can buy, I think they have some grow bulbs.
Because this is the main problem with growing is your heat signature, and your electrical bill is just, it really makes the cost of production costly. And
with these bulbs, with LEDs, if you can get grow bulbs, you'll save a lot of money for growing.
Another life-saving tip from your No Agenda show.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Yeah, we do have a few people to thank for show 1042. Starting with Mrs. Moto.
Hello, Moto.
Hello, Moto.
You got to read this. To celebrate our 15th anniversary on the 14th, I donate $150 in honor of your loyal supporter, fantastic father, and my amazing husband, Sir Francis of Roberts Bay. Happy anniversary, honey. I'm the luckiest girl in the world. Mrs. Moto. Hello, Moto. This is our Father's Day shout-outs here.
Sir Cal of Lavender Blossoms, 133.33.
Hey, he's got quick eyeball recovery for you.
Yeah. Look for greater celandine, a medical herb growing all around us. Crush the stems and rub the yellow juice into your eyelids.
It doesn't say into. It says onto your eyelids. Instant relief.
Well, it gets rid of warts, Adam, it says.
Do I have warts?
What has Adam got, warts?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Thanks for the tip. Esther O'Neill, $100. She's also enlightened about something, just about the show, I guess.
Yeah.
Sir Chris Gray of the Isle of Wight came in with $88.88 from Covington, Louisiana.
Hold on, just a question about Esther, because she says, well, actually, I want to read the whole note. She's in Hong Kong. Thank you for enlightening my knowledge, even though I do not agree with some of your opinions, but I respect yours. I'm sorry it took me a while to make this donation. Please pass karma back to me. God bless, Julie. I'm just trying to figure out, is this Julie or Esther? Well, we thank you regardless.
It says Esther, but it signs Julie. Okay.
Well, God bless. Back at you.
Julie Esther.
Thank you very much.
Julie Esther.
Julie Esther.
Sir Chris Gray, Isle of Wight, 8888 in Covington, Louisiana. Yogi, 7676. Don't use my name. Use Yogi. He's got a note to his buddy, my mate. And I'm Sitzen Pinkler, Paul Gitt. Dame Bang Bang, 7373. I haven't heard from her for a while. Got a birthday.
Yeah, also happy Father's Day to Sir D.H. Slammer, Baron of Central Coast. Happy birthday to him as well, coming up, as well as Sir Andrew Knight of the Mountains. So all the individual numbers add up to 73, and another 73 for my ham guy, Kilo 6 November Delta X-Ray. Love ya.
73s.
Kilo 5 Alpha Charlie.
Chris Beggio, 73s. Ryan Brady in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 6171, in honor of my late father. Sir Colin Cunningham in Redmond, Oregon. I love you, Dad. I miss you. He says, call it to my father, James Cunningham, who died last year. Love you, Dad. I miss you, he says. Rabe or Robbie Sandlin. Rabe, what do you think? 6171. No Agenda is the most important podcast in the universe,
and it's getting more importanter.
Yes, and we help people with their grammar. Timothy Pierce, 6116. Christopher Decatur, 5678. Pete Federici, 5555.
He wants a jobs karma for himself and his partner. Yep.
Put that at the end. James Deering in Spring, Texas, 5510.
Please
add my work subordinate Brian Frazier to the birthday list. We got that. Also, please call him out for being a douchebag. Robert Pinder, 5510. Matt Frank, Mentor, Ohio, 5432. Brian Cohan, 5333. He's got some karma coming. Daniel in Coos Bay, Oregon, 5333.
Brian Cohen also needed a de-douching, I guess. This is his first donation. And he's marrying his smoking hot fiancée, Maura, on Saturday. So let's de-douche.
You've been de-douched.
Oh, here's Daniel, our producer, Daniel.
Yeah.
He said... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, he's the one who says, my sincerest apologies for the mistake I made last episode and all the ruckus surrounding it. Thank you, John and Adam, for understanding. Thank you for your courage. The show has never been better.
No, thank you.
Even my daughter thought the last show we did was dynamite.
No, that's saying quite a lot. I'll take that as a huge compliment.
I listened to half the show. She's out doing something.
Half the show was great. That's
well, no, she's still listening. She was listening. She's in the middle. And I said, well, how's it so far? She says, it's great.
Wow.
Yeah. Peter Chong in Lake. What's because we had all these clips of the day. Peter Chong, 5176 in Lakewood, Washington. Relationship karma coming. Oystenberg, 5038. A bit late for the vote, but here it is anyway.
Oh, gotcha.
Randy Holcomb in Lake Forest, California. Birthday. Alan D. Peterson. These are all $50 donors in St. Louis, Missouri. $50. Dame Patricia Worthington in Miami is always coming in. She comes in a lot. Thank you. $50. Robert Weber in San Jose, California. Brandon Savoy in Port Orchard, Washington. Brett Yo in Catonsville, Maryland. Catonsville, not sure. Jonathan Ferris in Liberal, Kansas. Robert Bruckner, parts unknown. Richard Gardner, who's a racer, isn't it?
Yeah, you think so? From the No Agenda Racing team?
Yeah, I think so.
Could be, I believe so.
Keith Yarborough in Austin, Texas. You know him.
Oh, yeah.
Trevor Hoagland in Portland, Oregon. John Holler in Missoula, Montana. And last but not least, Kirsten Gleb, who comes in from Pop Mail. And $50. We didn't get a lot of the, the Father's Day call-out
No, I presume we're going to get a lot on Sunday.
Well, you don't know. I mean, most of our listeners, for some unknown reason, besides being Eagle Scouts and hams, hate their moms.
and their dads.
Apparently, they're going to hate their dads, too. Let's see if there's anything on the list down here. No.
Well, that concludes our thank yous to our donors for episode 1042. Thank you all very much. It's highly appreciated. Also, people who came in under $50, a lot of people on subscriptions, people who want anything under $50 we don't mention. That's by design, so people can donate anonymously if they want to. It's just so that we don't mess it up, because it's very easy to mess up those kinds of things. And, of course, we'll have another show on Sunday, and we'll have lots of deconstruction for you. I'm looking forward to it. You heard it. The show is approved by Jay Dvorak.
Dvorak.org/NA. Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And here is your birthday list for today, June 14th, in the year of our Lord 2018. Kevin Lowe, relax, 33 on the 20th. Robert Umberger says happy birthday to his amazing wife, Lori. She celebrates today. Dame Bang Bang says happy birthday to Sir Andrew King of the Mountains. He turns 10 today. James Deering congratulates Brian Fraser, also celebrating today. And Randy Holcomb celebrates his birthday. We congratulate all of you from the whole staff and management at the best podcast in the universe. Just as a little aside, podcast ad revenues hit $314 million in 2017.
Jeez, it's hardly anything.
It's nothing. It's really low.
Yeah, well, I think it's a money loser for most people.
Probably.
Now, we're talking about the media, jumping all over Trump and making a fuss about one thing or another. There was a clip from the G7 from the reports.
Yeah.
That came out on, I moved this to the show. This was on ABC.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard this, I think if it was anybody else, if it was Obama or anyone else, they would have called this this was, I believe, interpret what you're going to hear as a threat to his life.
Relations are also strained with French President Emmanuel Macron, who Trump recently hosted at the White House. Now Macron suggests he may be ready to give up on Trump, tweeting, "The American president may not mind being isolated, but neither do we mind signing a 6-country agreement if need be." Later adding, "No leader is eternal."
No,
isn't that a death threat?
No. He's saying, you can only go 8 years, bro. That's what he's saying.
Well, I can see the media and under any other circumstances interpreting it as a death threat.
Yes. I'm surprised the alt-right is not all over it.
Yeah, I'm the only one who caught it.
What is wrong with all of us?
Yeah, exactly. What's wrong with these people?
So net neutrality expired.
Okay, let's play the bad mergers clip because I'm sure this is part of it.
No, not necessarily. But
today, a big story. Comcast made a $65 billion all-cash offer for some of the assets of 21st Century Fox. That bid is nearly 20% higher than an all-stock proposal for the same Fox assets that Disney made last December. Question now is, will Disney try to top Comcast's offer? And this brewing battle occurs just as traditional media companies are trying to better compete with the likes of a Netflix. As we told you, Comcast was expected to make this offer if AT&T's proposal to take over Time Warner was approved. And as we reported, a federal judge cleared the way for that deal yesterday.
Now,
this was corruption at some level. There's no way. Anyway.
I want your comment on this. I just want to say that this folds into net neutrality, and we're going to explain once again what our stance is on that. But this does have to do with it. I agree. And the whole idea is, will you have too much pipe and too much content? Am I correct?
There's that issue. I don't see why they're so preoccupied with Netflix. It's not as though they can't do this. Now, of course, this opens the door for every stupid thing coming down the pipe, which includes T-Mobile merging with Sprint, which is going to happen.
Yep.
And there was another couple of these things floating around. They're all going to happen because of this. This was a monster. It should have been stopped. What is wrong with these judges and antitrust? I mean, there's got to be something else going on. There's no reason you would allow this. Comcast, which already owns Universal, now they own another studio, and they own the cable networks, and they own NBC. I mean, it's like this. It's ridiculous.
I have a different hunch about all this, and I think that this is going to be the death of AT&T. What is the company? What is the company going to be called after the merger?
Warner AT&T. It's going to be called AT&T. Okay, I know where you're going with this. Now, I want to mention, by the way, the Comcast Fox merger only came about because of the AT&T Time Warner merger,
right?
Which is what the White House bitched about.
Yeah.
But now all these mergers are going to happen because this guy gave them the go ahead.
Yep.
I think it's going to be called AT&T.
Okay. And you know where I'm going with this?
What you're going with is they're going to have to change the name, and they're going to. The AT&T is not even this. The AT&T we're dealing with is really, I believe, Southwestern Bell.
Yes, originally, yeah.
The original AT&T is defunct.
Yeah.
And these guys kind of this aggressive local regional phone co. We're buying up everybody. They bought Pacific Bell.
Yeah, they bought everything up. They bought it all up. Yep.
They bought it all up, the whole country, and then they bought the remnants of AT&T. And then they said, "Hey, we're AT&T," and they call themselves AT&T, which I find to be creepy. It's almost like Frankenstein's monster.
Now, how much content is in this deal?
AT&T's buying Time Warner.
Right. So what are we talking? What kind of content?
Well, I think Time Warner, let's take a look on the wiki page to see what Time Warner owns. They own lots of content.
Okay. See,
they own the cable, and they own this cable that you're.
I believe the way the world is going, and I am from the future, hashtag. I think the bet on content and pipe is exactly the wrong thing to do. I think this is going to bankrupt this company.
Let's hope.
I would put all my money in AT&T and Sprint. They're going. These Verizon,
AT&T.
Sprint and T-Mobile, T-Mobile and Sprint. Verizon has also now they're chopping all kinds of content deals they had. They purchased all that stupid shit with the Huffington Post and the Gawker, whatever the hell they bought. What did they buy?
Dumb.
Yeah,
they just bought.
They regret it. And they're moving away from it.
Yeah.
These guys,
Gawker got bought by Ziff.
These guys all understand that if they really, whoever focuses on the pipe, and I think there'll be wireless is a different issue, but whoever focuses on the pipe and can achieve just net neutrality because their job is to deliver to you what you want, they're going to win in this. The content, forget about it. All these, and this is decades of content investment. And I blame Terry Semel, and maybe even Ted Leonsis to a degree, thinking that we put the content together with the pipe. No, it's a failure. It's a big failure. And yes, I hope so. So I'm very happy with this merger. These guys will fail. Now we have issues with a number of ISPs that are available in the United States, certainly, but I think that's pretty much everywhere. You've got issues.
All right, Time Warner. I'm going to go over some of the things so we know what we're talking about. Time Warner owns, and now AT&T. And I'm not going to argue necessarily your basic point, because I think you can ask, unless they just wanted Time Warner Cable and they're going to spin the rest of it off.
Yeah, but spin it off. Listen, spin it off into what? I'm looking at Netflix. Just take Netflix. Fantastic. They're great. They're losing billions of dollars. It's just like Uber and Airbnb, all these conveniences. There's a reason why we didn't have them before. It's because we didn't have morons to invest in this shitty stuff. It's dumb. They're not reaching the economies of scale that was promised. It's not getting there. And the Netflix gravy train will end eventually unless they can figure it out. And I don't think they can do that. It's very expensive to create good video content. It's expensive. Right. And there's unions and there's guilds and there's payments and royalties. It's a very well-oiled machine. And now
it's a nightmare is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. So Time Warner owns home box office with about 25 channels, including Cinemax. They own Cinemax.
HBO is the most profitable one of the bunch, but they've been doing it for 50 years or 40 years.
HBO is huge, and they got them all over the world. They own Turner Broadcasting System, TBS, TNT, when you watch a True TV, TCM, Turner Sports, the basketball games, they're doing good money on that. A whole bunch of television stations everywhere, CNN, CETVs. They own Warner Brothers Entertainment, DC stuff, which is, I guess now they still own DC. So they own the movie franchises for DC's lousy comic book movies. Warner Brothers Studios in Levingston, England, and in Tours.
All right, we get it.
Wait, go on. Warner Brothers TV Group, which is a tonnage of stuff. Warner Brothers Home Entertainment Group. And then they have investments in a million other things. But anyway, okay, I'll stop.
This is very expensive operations. Very, very expensive. And they have a high margin of error. Stuff just doesn't work. And low
margin of error.
No, they have a high margin of error.
No, a high margin of error means they can screw up royally and still make money.
You're right. Yes, I'm sorry. A low margin of error. But what I'm saying is they make a lot of duds. A lot of them. You don't know about them. You don't hear about them. They go away. There's tons of duds. And you got to have one or two big hits. But the cost to do this is so disproportionate. And anyone who's smart looks at Netflix and says, "Well, great, we'll have it all." And how's that going to work? They don't have control over the 24-hour cycle. That's how you could do it. Look, we're putting this on. We'll get some ads. If the ads aren't enough, that's a failure. Rarely do you have such a flop that no one watches it. Okay, we'll make good on those ads. We bring in the mid-season replacement. Boom. You had no choice. You're watching this. Now we have choice. We have choice of everything, including dumb stuff on YouTube, but also professionally produced independent content. And you can watch it whenever you want. Their model is broken, but the investment started back when it was still gravy train days. So this comes into net neutrality because this is exactly what it's about. The argument is mainly from Facebook and Google and Twitter, and it used to be from Netflix, but they're smart. They cut their deals with all the ISPs directly. YouTube. Yeah, well, Google. The argument is ISPs with all this groovy content and all the stuff they own, which, by the way, runs on their own network, has nothing to do with bits coming from the outside, but okay. They're going to slow down, degrade your experience so that you will be forced into choosing their stuff. That's the basic premise, is they'll have it all. They'll have a lock on it, and then you, as poor little independent guy, you won't be able to go and get your stuff in. So that's kind of the issue that is coming up. But this is driven by Google and Facebook and Twitter and all these guys because they want government regulations. And that is what net neutrality is about. And in the government regulations, we've seen every version of it. It clearly states ISPs will have the legal right to block unlawful content, and that's a specific word, unlawful content and unlawful network traffic. And of course they would love to have that. They would love to have, because they can comply with regulations like you and I can't. This show would never comply with unlawful content somewhere down the line. We're doing something unlawful, and the ISP, that's real breakage. They will be able to turn us off because we have unlawful content. That's why you do not want the government regulating that important piece of the connection. The technological piece it presents a different problem, where the internet was built on the concept of peerage. It's not one big, well, it's more one big network than it used to be. But in the beginning, when it was being built, there was all these little networks, and they would interconnect at with a big router, basically.
That's what internet meant.
That's the interconnection of networks, and they connected peering points. And peering, the word already says it. You're each other's peer, and the concept is, well, you have so much people that need to access my network to get to another piece of the network, and I send off almost an equal amount of traffic to you. We're calling it a wash. No one owes anybody any money because it's not free. If you have tons of people sucking down gigs of video, you need bigger routers, bigger boxes, bigger pipes. It's not like, it's not an infinite supply that just kind of flows everywhere. There's a real cost to it. I know I built a data center and went bankrupt, so I know exactly what the cost is of Cisco machinery typically to get this done. So these arguments are playing on people's emotions that your Netflix is going to buffer, or your YouTube, or your favorite tech video, or whatever it is, and you're going to be all net neutrality. And the worst offender of this is
put a time code down.
Is the chairperson of the Mozilla Foundation, and I was not familiar with this person. I'll tell you, just looking at her, I already didn't like her. One of those complicated haircuts. Like, where does it start? Where does it end? It's shaved here, whatever. And she was on the, what is that? It's on Newsy. It's the Intellectual Debates or something. I forget what it's called. There's some good people on it. And she was on representing, please, we need net neutrality. I'm going to play one little bit here. This is where she explains the networking side. What I just explained. Is this
a woman named Mitchell?
Yes. That's
Mitchell
the one.
Baker.
Yeah. Did you see her hair?
She looks very haughty.
Whatever that means. The hairdo is complicated.
Haughty, not hot.
Yeah, I know. So what I just explained about the networking side is the truth. That is why Netflix had a problem with the ISPs, because they were shoving gigabytes of content into the ISPs and with no reciprocation. And like, hold on a second, you're just clogging up our routers here. We need to do something about that. Which, by the way, is called transit. We have a word for it. If you couldn't peer with someone, you could buy transit from them. These are well-established principles, but this is not what it's about. Again, this is about the big Silicon Valley companies wanting the government to control you out of their way. And the kicker, of course, comes on the second part of this woman's explanation. But here's her technical explanation of why net neutrality is necessary.
Yes. Wait, just lay it out.
Sure. So when we talk about net neutrality, we're actually talking about the network itself, like the physical part of how data moves, or maybe the airwaves, for part of it. But it's the physical network. Technically, the internet sits on top of that, right? Because the internet and the way we access data, it has to travel, like the bits, the electrons have to move. And so it's that bit of transport of the last bit of transport that goes to you, the consumer, that we're actually talking about. The internet sits on top of that, and then what we call the platforms, Facebook, Google, they all sit on top of that on higher layers up. All the internet, exists in layers.
Oh.
And so net neutrality is the argument that the fundamental layer, the most physical layer, the way the bits actually move, should be neutral. And that if it's not neutral, anytime we try to address the layers above it, we're dealing with a crooked foundation, and it can change at any time.
Okay, that's completely not the point I was just making. I agree with what you said, but my point is, look at Google, Facebook, and Amazon, just as self-interest companies. Forget this thing about platforms. They are saying they're big fans of net neutrality, and I'm saying we need to ask ourselves why.
So the way she just explained what's really going on, what a bunch of bullcrap that was.
Yeah, it was just a gobbledygook.
And what she fails to disclose, well, actually, I'll say it at the end here. So now she's going to talk about her history, the history of Mozilla and the freedom fighters. And I'm going to say it up front. She's full of crap. How did Firefox, the Mozilla Foundation, make its money? We all know the answer.
Well, they made most of their money by putting a little search box in there and charging Google
$275 million.
Yeah, it's passed through.
Yeah. That's how they made their money. From day one, they were in bed with Google, and now this woman is out there shilling for Google, but she's not going to disclose it. Oh, no. She's a freedom fighter.
You know, Mozilla and our work in Firefox would not be here without net neutrality. We first built Firefox in 2004 as a nonprofit. By definition, our goal is not maximizing revenue, not for ourselves.
$275 million.
Not for the ISPs, not for anyone else. We were building a product everyone knew was irrelevant, and we were challenging the tech giant of its time, Microsoft, which was essentially Google, Apple, Amazon, all rolled into one.
What?
We were open source, which was very freaky at its time.
Freaky.
We had no money for marketing.
$275
we had
million.
No money for distribution.
$275 million.
And we were building the internet as a public asset.
They were building the internet.
Something that was crazy for its time. We were not anyone's model of an attractive business partner.
Wow, hold on a second.
But we had one thing going.
She is so, you know what I like about her? She's a giving person. She's really part of the community. She wants to do good work. Oh, by the way, in 2018, she made $1.1 million in compensation from Mozilla.
Because they're so poor. They got no money.
They're starving to death.
Freedom fighters.
We were not anyone's model of an attractive business partner.
They are the gulag of Silicon Valley.
But we had one thing going for us, along with our product.
$1 million.
We had the open internet.
Oh.
We were able to offer our product, and we were able to make it fast. We were able to make our download fast, which is more important than you would ever think in trying to get a product adopted. And we were able to make our download fast without worrying about what ISPs around the world would decide and whether their delivery practices would ruin our product. Without the open internet, we wouldn't have had a chance. And the opportunity of the open internet should be for all of us. Innovative business practices, innovative solutions should be distributed, and each of us should have the opportunity without going through the gatekeeper of our ISP. Mm-hmm. And so we urge you, support the motion, preserve net neutrality.
Wow. Brazen, just brazen. Who needs a lobbying firm when you got that?
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah. So
Cal grad over here in Bold Hall. She's a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Well, she doesn't know jack about the internet.
She doesn't need to.
The photons flying around. What was she talking? What kind of jive was she talking? It's crazy. Hey,
she's actually, Time Magazine made her one of the
most
100 most influential people in the world.
Oh, yeah? Well, no wonder she got the hair.
Never heard of her before you're president, but okay.
So I got some follow-up on the PBIS.
A lot of people like that little presentation.
Yeah, well, the responses, there's some...
by the way, she was also the lawyer for Sun Microsystems, or associate lawyer.
Associate. Well, this she started at Sun Microsystems.
Yeah, Sun Microsystems.
Right. Yeah, so I got a number of interesting emails. So this was about the behavioral... what was it? What did PBIS stand for again? Well, it's yeah, I know. Well, it's the bottom line is PBIS is a program that punishes or does not punish children based upon their political identifiers, such as poor or black.
Positive behavioral intervention and support.
Thank you. And we also tied into that how Google is just has flushed themselves into schools. And I got a note from one of our people who would know. On the last episode, I heard you talking about Chromebooks and education. I completely agree. These Chromebooks are being used to take over the school system and get more students into the Google world. But it goes a step farther. Many school systems, including universities, are switching from hosting their own servers or Microsoft servers for mail, calendar, etc., to Google's G Suite. Sure, it's great for IT since everything is Google managed, but like you said, make Google slaves from a very young age. This is troublesome. I know many nonprofits who use the G Suite. I think that's wow, what a single point of failure. They use cloud and all this stuff. If Google just decides that you're on the Southern Poverty Law Center's list or something, and then we're not going to serve you, boom, done, everything's gone. Your company is gone overnight in a second.
Yeah, it would be gone overnight. Always a bad idea.
Yeah. Now, I think that's quite frightening that people are all in on Google like that. And who's to say they're not looking at, there could be all kinds of stuff going on. Apple, our producer says, Apple does not have educational products. Our new 6th gen iPad with pencil support is very cheap and targeted right at the education market. We have some apps like Classroom, which make it very easy to manage students' iPads while in the classroom, and even has a sign-in mode on the iPads if the school doesn't want to do a one-to-one program, although Google makes it very hard when they just throw free stuff at schools with the intent to harvest all the data they can from students. Because of Apple's stance on privacy, it makes it more difficult to give away free stuff to schools. Like I said, we're marketing our 6th gen iPad towards K-12. Our keynote for it was even at a school in Chicago, and we worked with Logitech to make a cheaper and more durable stylus called the Crayon that uses the same technology as the pencil. So Apple is definitely in education. They're trying, but then I guess it's tough for them, and I can see why.
They dropped the ball.
Yeah, Google has the right idea. They got a cheap product. Apple always wanted to sell. I don't think they were giving away. They always wanted to sell. From Sir Ryan, checking in from Colorado. Not only am I a middle school teacher, thank you for your courage, but I also have a master's degree in curriculum development and a master's in educational leadership. Oh, man. You should do a podcast. Through my work, I have led school-wide and district-wide PBIS teams for several years now. Hey, John, this is straight from the horse's mouth. This is good news. Are you still there?
Yeah.
All right. I can tell you that all schools must hold something called a manifesting meeting, which considers if a student's misbehavior is caused by a student's disability, which all students basically have, he says. If it is found that the behavior does come from a disability, which it always is, he says, that student is not legally allowed to be punished for their behavior. I can tell you that teachers are going out of their minds trying to manage a classroom full of kids that feel empowered because they know their teacher can't legally punish them. Worse is the implementation of restorative justice in schools. This is a legal philosophy in juvenile criminal justice that is being bastardized by school administrators to keep problem kids in the classroom and lower their referral number and suspension rate for students. Just want you to know that many of us teachers are aware of the madness and doing all we can to combat it for our own classrooms. Feel free to share if you'd like to reach out or if you have any education questions.
Why don't you, I do have one for him, but I want you to make sure to forward. I don't know if I have that note. Was it forward? Did I get a copy?
Probably not.
Well, send it to me. I'm going to put it on. I'm putting a website up of notes like that. It's just a feedback from our listeners.
Here's one from Lon.
Well, wait. I have a question for him.
Okay. I didn't know you were going to do it publicly. Okay, good. Go.
I want him to look at learn.kqed.org and tell me what he thinks. It's a thing they've created. In fact, I have a clip if you want. I don't want to interrupt your presentation.
No, let's do a clip. That's a nice little break.
Play the Learn KQED clip about what this is all about.
Subject area. Any subject area, any teacher could have students use the site. They're practicing digital citizenship, and we're reinforcing the academic skills.
It asks students to investigate beyond the basics.
The engagement piece was definitely the Above the Noise videos.
We'll cut through the hype
and take you above the noise.
Students absolutely loved the Above the Noise videos.
It's a great way to introduce them to a topic and get them talking about it.
It provides them with an opportunity to pose their own question, to research
per capita energy-related carbon dioxide emissions,
and get them creating their own investigations.
Why are we so attached to social media?
What is the real definition of feminism?
What happens when only one side of a story is told?
How can I find a college that...
Being able to analyze information in their own voice is something that they need to do more and more.
Maybe you can can look at like
finding project.
Yeah.
The Make and Share on KQED Learn has been incredible.
They were creating infographics, videos, images with voiceovers, podcasts.
I told the students my heart was full. I got the most in-depth presentations I've gotten in 5 years.
What inspired me to choose this topic is
the students get excited when they started receiving responses from other people.
It looks like someone commented on our source.
What excited me the most about it was the collaboration and the fact that it is free and that their goal is to keep it that way.
The fact that it's KQED was really comforting to me. I knew it was reliable, unbiased, credible, and I knew that it was going to be safe for my students.
That's a no-brainer. It's KQED.
Unbiased my ass.
Yeah. This is what happens when you remove teachers from the equation. Then you get this. And I think I have a decent analogy from Johnny B. Now, the analogy here is basically turning over education to whoever makes the learning materials that the kids are doing on their iPads and the computers, and it sounded like they were doing YouTube videos on the SocialNet. I don't know what the hell that was about. And you made a pretty good argument on the previous episode that nothing goes above a human being trying to teach you something.
Nothing. And here's the analogy. Johnny B says, I worked for Radio Shack for a decade, between 99 and 09. When I first started working there, you had a stack of books on various subjects, all related to the stock in the store. In your first 90 days, you were required to read the books and take a Scantron read multiple choice test. You would send the test sheet to Fort Worth, where it would get run through a machine, and then get your results mailed back to the store. The hardest of these tests was 125 or so questions and was the parts training. Now, these tests were open book, but you had to look up the answers the old-fashioned way and actually read the material. Sometime around 2003, 2004, they scrapped testing this way and went with a super dumbed-down computer-based training, so dumbed down that when you got to the Q&A part, they would give you the right answer. You could immediately retake the test and pass. They scrapped the parts test, the computer knowledge test, and the AV test. Prior to computer training, the people who wanted to sell everything they could had the tools to make them and Radio Shack successful. This is one of the many mistakes that made Radio Shack go under. Some asshole managers, which was a lot of them, complained about having to fire people who didn't complete the required training because it was too hard. And instead of having knowledgeable salespeople, they had clerks that couldn't help out the customer who needed problem solved. It's around the same time they scrapped, you've got questions, we've got answers. And I remember that because we pitched Radio Shack with my first company. And we had a whole pitch based on we've got answers. We had answers.com, I think. We had the whole pitch, and they went, yeah, we're dropping that. It was not a great pitch. If they're going to do this shit to my kids in school, my son starts kindergarten next year, I might go the way of Dvorak and homeschool. Just thought you might want an example of shit computer training that played out to the detriment of a retail chain that was 100 years old when it fell. And I think that's a great analogy. It's fantastic. I want that letter too. Send it to me.
Oh, man.
I know it's so much work.
It's really not. And then just one more on PBIS.
Yeah, definitely.
This is Lon.
This is like a new theme. This is our second half of 2018 theme.
Yeah.
I'm sensing.
All right, yeah, could be. It's feeling good. This is Lon. Gives me a little background info. PBIS. I think he's more in favor of it than some others. PBIS is a set of tools for schools and teachers to provide behavioral support to kids based on their needs. It partly came into being because of federal and state laws require every kid to receive an equal education. And every is capitalized, so I guess every kid, even the ones that have behavioral issues. So schools are including kids at all stages of development, from typical to those with severe behavioral issues in the same environment. This causes schools to hire psychologists, behavioral staff, and PBIS grew out of the need to have some structure for these new aspects of the educational system. In the past, most of the challenging kids were relegated to state institutions, special schools, or worse. We are seeing parents, teachers, and professionals clash over how all kids are educated, interacting, and resources of school are spent. It is very ugly on the front lines, with kids caught in the middle of adults signaling superior parenting privilege. I see this side of the argument too. But it sounds to me like teachers and educators in general, in the whole system, they're getting a real raw deal out of whatever this privileged PC society is delivering to us.
Oh, it's terrible, but it's part of the bigger debate. It's the conservatives versus the liberals, and it's and we've talked about this before. This is the two words that define each side. The conservatives are for liberty and freedom, and the liberals are for justice and equality. And this stems from the equality part of the liberal side of the arguments, and because it's just permeating society. It's a huge plague. This is one of the reasons Trump got in, because people sense there's something wrong with this sort of thing.
Even though, but I think you just put your fingers on it. You really, that was good. You really explained it in one paragraph.
Yes, I did think so. I have it since you're done with that.
One more note. This is a quickie from Ryan, and it's more of the same kind of, but said a different way. Adam and John, I'm a high school teacher at a PBIS school. Bless you guys. Bless all of you for being that just from the get-go. Bless you. From my experience, programs such as this are only minimally implemented because of the system's, mostly the teachers, resistance to change. The teachers in public education work very independently from each other, and oversight from administration, and tend to continue teaching according to their own style. I believe that Marjory Stoneman Douglas likely pursued PBIS because of the grant funding available to the school, which is in the tens of thousands, similarly to their pursuit of grants related to lowering student crime, and I'm sure many others. Again, I believe it is unlikely that the PBIS program made any impact on the school other than monetarily. As for teaching students how to behave, this is a major problem, all caps. Teachers like to do that. With many parents completely dropping the ball. It is hard enough teaching them almost anything when there is no pressure from the kids from home, let alone how to behave at school. Love the show, Ryan. Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. Is parents, they're like, hey, you can't talk to my kid that way, whatever bull crap. And the teachers have no power. Powerless.
Well, that's been getting worse. They probably, I don't know. Well, I have no idea how this is going to resolve itself. Homeschooling.
Well,
but they were resisting that. I mean, they're trying to make most states, they make it illegal.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But you're right. You said this is the reason for Trump. So, yeah, people know something's up.
Yeah, and they want somebody to stop it, and he seemed to be a guy who at least talked a good game.
He's talking the game, for sure. All right, you got one more thing to get us out of here? Because we're running late. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. Where is it? I'm not doing it right. This is what I should do.
Excuse me, Adam, but you've got a plane to catch.
I finally got my guy. Actually, I got two guys.
Mr. Adam Curry. You've got a plane to catch, Mr. Curry, now!
I got to say, even though I like Chris Wilson's voice, and but the second guy seems more real.
That's Secret Agent Paul.
Yeah.
But Sir Chris, gave me a whole stack, so...
Excuse me, Adam. Your service goat, Trevor, is getting a little impatient.
So that means I got to go.
Well, let's play out this. This will be my last one then. I got these other ones are good for carryovers.
Okay.
But I thought it was funny that now we're starting to see this meme is starting to creep in. I don't know how far it's going to go, how far it's going to get. But this is hacking a 757.
Oh, yes.
It is not a question of if, but when hackers will take over a commercial jetliner. That is the warning from cybersecurity experts. Here's Chris Van Cleef.
A
A stark declaration in documents obtained by CBS News today from the Department of Homeland Security. In this presentation from earlier this year, researchers warned it's a matter of time before a cybersecurity breach on an airline occurs. That assessment came after a DHS decision to launch a nose-to-tail series of tests on this Boeing 757 for hacking weak spots. Those tests came after a DHS team led by Dr. Robert Hickey took just 2 days to hack remotely into the plane while it was parked at an FAA facility at the Atlantic City Airport in September of 2016. The DHS team got in through the plane's radio frequency communications using typical stuff that could be brought through airport security. In response, DHS scheduled those further hacking attempts on the plane, including efforts to access flight management, life support, autopilot, the plane's electrical and fuel systems, as well as its engines.
Now I think we've come to realize that cyber threat is everywhere.
Ron Hosko is the former assistant director of the FBI.
My fear is that our nation acts most directly when they're on the backside of a crisis. The crisis has occurred, we lose a lot of lives, and now we're prepared to put money into infrastructure.
While the 757 hasn't been built since 2004, it is an aging workhorse for American, Delta, and United. President Trump's personal plane is a 757. So is the aircraft often used by Vice President Mike Pence.
Experts wanted to know if hackers could use the in-flight Wi-Fi, the infotainment system, or even a USB charging port to get into a plane's system. Now, Boeing says its aircraft are safe, that it is confident in its cybersecurity measures, and does not believe the testing has revealed a cyber vulnerability in the 757. Jeff?
I'm kind of sad that you brought this up at the end of this program because I have been doing a lot of research for the past 3 weeks. On this report, this is a report, aviation type,
I'm
airman
smelling
research.
a TV movie for TV movie.
Well, here's the homework, and everyone can go look at it. You want to look up BUAP, Boeing Uninterruptible Autopilot, and what this does, what it's been implemented in, which indeed is in 757s, 747s, even in Airbus. I believe that there's a possibility that some of these missing aircraft have been hijacked through the BUAP system. It's real. You can remote control the aircraft from the ground. There's a fun little side note to this. The patent for this was originally, there was a lot of noise about it. It was originally sold through the law firm of, was it Shuckham, Jivem, and Rose, the one that Hillary Clinton belonged to back in the day? It's called the Quartz patent, if you want to look it up. So on the next show, I think I should expand a little bit on that.
Roll it out.
I wasn't quite prepared today, but this is one of the best teases we've ever had, so I'm happy for that.
I agree.
And we'll also be deconstructing the OIG report. OIG, OMG, it's the OIG. That's due today. I guess it's already come out, so we'll have to sift through that.
Yeah.
And we'll deconstruct anything else. There's tons of stuff going on in the United States of Europe as well that I want to get to. And as always, coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, here in FEMA Region number 6 on the governmental maps in the common law Cludio, the common law condo in the Cludio, I should say. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the sun's come out and it's bright. Wow. I'm John C. Dvorak.
Remember us for Sunday's show at Dvorak.org/NA. Happy Father's Day in advance. And until next time, adios, mofos. I need a cab.
Well, you're not getting one.
President Trump's attorney Rudy Giuliani tells ABC's This Week that the president has the power to smart lawyers I know are. President Trump's attorney Rudy Giuliani tells ABC's This Week that the president has the power to pardon himself.
He probably does.
But he has no intention of pardoning himself.
That was the entire genesis of this freakout. Was that little bit.
Lawyers I know. Smart lawyers I know. That lawyers I know. The smart lawyers I know. That lawyers I know. Smart lawyers I know. That smart lawyers I know. Lawyers I know. The president can fire anybody who works for the executive branch for any reason. Smart lawyers I know. Lawyers I know. The smart lawyers I know. The president can fire anybody who works for the executive branch for any reason. Lawyers I know. Smart lawyers I know. Smart lawyers I know. The lawyers I know. That smart lawyers I know. That the president can fire anybody who works for the executive branch for any reason he wants.
Someone's pressing buttons. Why don't I have sound? Who's got a hammer? Where is it? Where's the hammer? Is it on the... Go up on the other floor. I'll go down to the goddamn floor myself. Call fucking Phil Griffin. I don't care who the fuck you have to call. Stop the hammering!
Start to listen to 99% of the scientific community. 진행되었다.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Denuclearizing